All right. What is going on, everybody? This is the Xbox 2 podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Rand L. Thor 19, the man with the million, and we got a good show for you guys today. And with me, as usual, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central, who is no longer in the UK, who's now back in Germany. What's going on, buddy?
Hey Rand, hey chat, how's it going? And hey to everyone listening on Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. I'm back in Germany, which means that the podcast schedule should be a little bit more stable now. Because like when I'm in England, Rand, I sort of try to meet as many friends and family as possible, like see my grandma and stuff like that, So like my Saturdays become locked out, which means that sometimes Saturdays are like our backup day for the show, right?
Yes.
If something goes wrong on a Friday, we usually slip it to Saturday. But I didn't have those backup days, so the podcast schedule went a bit weird for a while, but now I'm back in Germany. That won't be an issue for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I'm back. I'm glad because it's raining and it's gone a bit cool now, 17 degrees Celsius. Here's a weather report for you. But I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. How are you feeling, Rand? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Zeno Adams says that you're a UK trader.
Yep.
How do you feel
yes,
about
indeed. I feel good. I feel great to be a UK trader. I look at my German residency card and I think, yeah, that's mine. That's my right to avoid Brexit right there.
Jeez.
But yeah, you call them a green card, right? In America, green card, right?
I suppose.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I got a green card, a German green card. Although it's grey, a grey card, or grau, grau Karte. Anyway, Rand, Forming Stream 53 says, where's the Peppa Pig gameplay? Last week, we promised Peppa Pig gameplay, but just before the show, Rand said he didn't want to use the Peppa Pig gameplay. You want to tell them why not, Rand?
because
Why do you want to deliver?
Jez gave me an hour Peppa Pig gameplay, right? And as I was setting up the podcast, I put the gameplay in there and I was watching it and I was just like, if that was me and I was a viewer of another show and I came into that show and the gameplay that they were showing off to their audience was Peppa Pig, I would just immediately leave. Just even if it was my favorite show, like I'm not gonna sit there and watch an hour-long Peppa Pig thing. So I made the executive decision. It was my call.
All right.
So
All right.
I was like, you know what? Annapurna had some big announcements for Game Pass. Let's throw an Annapurna game in there, which is why we have the Artful Escape today. I tried to capture stray footage, but I got this weird issue going on with my PlayStation. I don't know if we have any PlayStation guys listening that can help me out, but the PlayStation 5 does not work well with my router or my modem or whatever. Like I'm on Wi-Fi. I don't think it's not working well with my Wi-Fi. Like when I boot up the console for the first time, like I can't go to the store, like nothing loads from the store. Like I try to look at my trophies on the system, it just sits there and loads. And to get it to work properly, I got to do like a connection test in the settings. And then once I do that, everything works properly. But then after like an hour, it kind of... Because when I was playing Stray, I was playing it through PlayStation Extra, right? So after about an hour of playing, I would get in... Like, the game would just kind of turn off. And I'd be back at like the dashboard. And basically I get this notification saying that like they can't verify the license. I need to be like online or something. So I was like, well, this is weird. So then I would run the connection test and everything would be fine. And then I could go back and play the game again. It's weird. It like happens like every hour when I'm on the PS5 and I can't use it wired. So I can't do that. That's the only thing I can think of is there's something to do with the Wi-Fi. But yeah, like it I don't know.
Mm.
It's just a strange situation that goes on with that. It's weird.
I could look into that for you afterwards, maybe.
Yeah. So.
But,
Oh geez, Sin Vendetta says, Rand, where's the Barbie Horse Adventures gameplay, sir? Is that game actually out?
Is that a thing?
I don't know. I think that is actually a thing. Because I remember you kind of teasing me about it.
Oh wow. It's so funny how terrible my memory is, because I don't remember that at all. But that does sound like something I would do. So I'm gonna believe that it is real. Yeah. So, have you been playing any games this week before we get into some topics, my buddy, my old pal?
Yeah, we got a bunch of topics here, Jez. Like more than I thought when I was looking up. We got woke GTA 6. We got Knights of Republic Remake delayed. Black Panther, Xbox financials, Xbox running faster than ever. Some stuff with the FTC. Xbox marketing pissing people off yesterday, which was very interesting.
Yeah, I saw that.
So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So if you guys do us a big favor, make sure you hit the like button and share this out. Let everyone know that we are live back on Friday. Feels good to be live on a Friday. I hate doing the show any other day.
Yeah, Friday's the best day for this stuff.
But yeah, so I'll start off with what I played. I finished Forza Horizon 5, although there's one is actually ever really finish Forza Horizon 5. But I basically I unlocked the Goliath, completed that race in the Forza Horizon Hot Wheels DLC. And I really liked it quite a bit. Obviously, I don't think it's as good as the main campaign. It is just a $20 DLC after all. I guess my biggest complaint is that there's just not enough races from Playground, that is. Like, each of the tiers, like the B tier, A tier, like, they only have, like, 4-5 races per tier. And considering how much track there is and how much unused track you actually don't go through when you finish the races, I don't know, I kind of feel like there should have been more. Like, you kind of went through it a little bit faster than I would have liked. And they kind of gate your progress with the badges that you need to collect for doing a bunch of stuff. So, I don't know, I was talking to dealers, talking to Colt about this, and they sort of had like the similar feeling that there kind of just wasn't enough races in the game. But other than that, like, I thought it was, tip-top, completely fantastic, well worth playing through. Not sure how much time I got out of it, though. Probably around 6 to 8 hours, depending, because I played it over the course of a couple nights.
How much does it cost?
I believe it's a $20 expansion. So,
do you think it's worth it?
If you like Forza, yeah, it's definitely worth it. I think all the expansions are worth it if you're going to spend a lot of time there. So, yeah. But the game I spent... Well, it's funny because I didn't spend more time playing this game, but the new game I spent my time playing this week was Stray. The cat game. The cat
PlayStation...
Game. Yeah, the cat
PlayStation
game.
banger of the quarter, right?
Yeah, which... Don't you want to be a cat, Jez? I mean, you are a cat right now.
I do, yeah. I am a cat right now. I do want to be a cat, and I will be a cat eventually, but maybe I'll wait for a Steam sale or something like that. Yeah. Because it is on Steam, right? I'm pretty sure
it is on Steam. It's $30. I used an upgrade to PlayStation Extra, the middle tier, for $12 for the rest of my subscription. So hopefully, the developers can get food on their table still with me playing the game in a subscription service, right? Hopefully it's good. The game's fun. I mean, I like the game. It's definitely... I'm trying to think if you would like it. It's a game kind of like Abzu or Inside. It's very much an exploration puzzle game.
Right.
With a lot
I did like Inside, but that's mainly because of how messed up it was.
The big thing
Um,
that I seem to get from this is that people like playing as a cat.
yeah,
For whatever reason, it's like, oh my god, I get to play as a cat. I get to go around and scratch doors. I get to like rub myself on people. They have a dedicated meow button. For some reason, people are like, yeah, that is that.
that's what I want out of gaming.
Yeah, which is, you know, they simplify the game in a lot of ways. You know, like Limbo and some of these other ones inside. There is a tad bit of skill to get through some of the puzzles you have to work through because you actually have to jump, right? Time your jumps properly. This game, the puzzles, there's puzzles, but they're very simplistic. And the way, and I assume they did it like this because it just would be just a nightmare to control, but like you can't actually jump as the cat. Like the cat doesn't have a dedicated jump button. So you
Wow, that's an L.
so basically you come to like 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 a ladder or something or a step. You basically can if it gives you the X prompt, you can basically leap up on top of it. So you're basically it's sectioned off into these like linear levels, and then there's a couple open world things where you can climb around on different houses and kind of complete quests to progress the main story. And I thought for like 3/4 of the game, it was quite enjoyable. I was enjoying the ambiance. It looks really good. You're in this like cyberpunk future setting with some robots. There's a couple escape sequences which are really nice and stuff. And then I kind of felt it kind of faltered towards the end, which I won't give away anything that happens, but there's a certain point where you get to a larger city, and I kind of felt like the game kind of lost its momentum at that point. And, 4.5 hours. So
I kind of feel like, the cat stuff, like, I mean, they missed the trick there by not letting you like do more platforming stuff because that's what cats are kind of known for, right? But it doesn't sound like that was the point of the game. It sounds like it is more about the interaction and the puzzling and stuff. It sounds interesting, Maybe they've certainly got like a sort of hit franchise on their hands there.
well,
So maybe like the sequel, they'll do more with the platforming stuff. I don't know.
it looks incredible. Like for an indie game, like this looks like a AAA game, like no doubt about it. I mean, some spots like really kind of take your breath away, especially like when you actually get to see like green foliage and stuff. So I could see why a lot of people love this game, to be honest with you. And I probably would be one of them if I haven't played better versions of this game. Since I'm a fan of this genre, like any of these kind of like I wouldn't call them action. Like I believe, like I think like Inside, Abzu, like Rhyme. I think these games are all in the same sort of genre, where like you take a character, doesn't know much about the world. It's kind of linear with like puzzles you have to solve out, escape sequences, and they do most of their storytelling through environmental storytelling instead of straight up like dialogue. Although this game kind of goes off in a different direction and actually does more of straight up dialogue for storytelling rather than the environmental kind, where you kind of just figure it out as you go along.
Kind of like Unravel, because that had some dialogue, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I'd probably would rate it like an 8. The funny thing is, I actually was more invested in As Dusk Falls than I was in Stray. Even though there are two totally different types of games, the story of As Dusk Falls like hooked me quicker than Stray.
That's interesting.
And I know people will probably be like, "Stop capping, you're an Xbot or whatever," but as anybody knows, Jez will tell you, anybody listening here will tell you, like, I am a story guy. You know, I love my narrative games. Jez telling me he's going to be playing What Remains of Edith Finch soon, and I'm like, that's one of the greatest story games there is, period. You know, I love my books. So,
Yep.
there's just something about the story and As Dusk Falls that hooked me. Whereas, like, the idea of, like, well, I'm a cat and I'm lost and I'm kind of just wandering around a cyberpunk city and now I'm doing stuff. Even though there is a story there, it just wasn't as compelling. But it's an enjoyable game. It's enjoyable. It just, I don't think I loved it as much as other people. I just liked it. I really can't wait to see what they do, like, in the future, though. So,
yeah, it sounds like it was a cool concept that maybe they could have explored more with if they had a bigger budget. But it kind of reminds me, the way you're talking about it kind of reminds me of Little Nightmares 1. Where it's kind of like, yeah, this is awesome, but it could be better. And then Little Nightmares 2 really did.
yeah, I would compare. I would say,
way.
like, Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2 are in the same kind of genre. Although Stray is, like, fully 3D and maybe has more areas to explore, you really are always going in a linear path, right? And it just, man, it looks so good. You can tell a lot of the budget went to the presentation and the graphics and the art style because it does shine. And but here's the thing, I'm not a cat person. Maybe that's why, like, I'm not really totally invested into it. I'm a dog guy, okay? You guys know it. You hear Shakespeare, right?
So now it all makes sense now.
I'm not a cat person at all. I don't hate cats, but
you hate cats.
I'm not a cat person. So, like, you know, you can, like,
Rand hates cats, confirmed.
You can meow. I remember reading a review. I forget who it was. Like, yeah, and I went up to everybody in the game and I was meowing at them and scratching my claws on the thing. And I was just like, why would anybody go up and, like, meow at people in this? And it's just like, oh, I guess maybe because they want to, like, role play as the cat, right? And he's a cute little cat. Don't get me wrong. He's a cute little cat.
All right. Riddle me this. What if Stray 2 is a stray dog?
I mean,
instead of a stray cat.
Game of the generation right there. Game of the gen.
And you can go up to NPCs and give you paw and stuff. And they shake your paw. What about that?
Dogs are greater than cats.
You have to drop a poll in chat now, I think.
Oh, Jesus.
Dogs or cats?
I mean, we all know dogs will win. I mean, there's no point of even...
I don't know, man. I used to be a dog person, but I have to, like, spending time with my girlfriend's cats. I kind of changed, man. I'm like a changed man.
Changed man. Don't tell me. Don't tell me you're.
I think I actually prefer cats now.
Can't believe Rand hates cats.
Cats are smart.
I didn't say I hate cats. I'm just saying I'm not a cat person. So. Daswell Gordon said,
there we go.
Playing Stray made me even more excited for Playdev's next game, which is confirmed to be fully 3D. I mean, I'm down to play anything by Playdead. And Sin Vendetta says, hey, Jez, you should stream Stray. You should. Jez, get
maybe I will.
Stream some Stray. You're a cat person. You know, it's not a long game, like I said, 4.5 hours. You know?
Yeah. The first game I'm going to stream when I get back to streaming is probably RimWorld, though. And that's pretty much all I've been playing the last week. Until the last couple of days, as you probably know from my Twitter, I've become addicted to multiverses.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
I genuinely cannot believe it. I honestly am flabbergasted. I like that word. That multiverses actually turn out to be good. And I know you don't like Smash Brothers. I know you don't like Nintendo. But I was a Smash Bros kid. As a kid, playing Smash Bros on GameCube and with my friends and family, you know, after school and stuff. You know, did that for hours, man. I got so good at it. You know, I could throw like an item across the map and almost guarantee that it would hit someone. That's how much we played it, you know, and practicing all that stuff for hours and hours on end. But, like, when you get to be an adult, Rand, and all your friends sort of move to different places across the country for work or whatever, you start relying on the internet for playing these kind of games, you know? And one thing that Nintendo only just realized in the last couple of years is that you need to have a decent internet if you want to make online multiplayer games, which is why I basically dropped off Smash Brothers. Because every time I tried playing Smash Bros. Online, it was like, I don't know, I was sort of playing on dial-up because Nintendo servers are hot garbage. So I kind of dropped off Smash Brothers because even though like the latest one's like great to play locally, like probably the best or one of the best fighting games of all time, because of Nintendo's online being complete trash, I just sort of never really bothered with it. But Multiversus, Rand, dedicated servers, rollback netcode. It's glorious. It's like Smash Bros.
Steam concurrent users breaking Warner Brothers record, right?
Yeah, it's the most played fighting game on Steam right now, beating everything, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, you know, you name it, and for good reason. It's bloody good. It's not quite as sharp as Smash Bros. There's still an element of like, yeah, Smash Bros. Is still the king of this kind of fighter, but the dedicated servers make so much of a difference. It's so easy to just jump into a match and smash people around, and feels great, and the characters they've included are really, really awesome too. Like I play as Batman, you know, and there are some decent Smash clones on Xbox, like Rivals of Aether is really good, and Brawlhalla's not bad either. But I can be Batman in this.
You can't really be Shaggy in that. Yeah. You can be LeBron James in it.
Yeah, I'm literally I'm playing it right now. I'm literally Batman throwing a batarang at LeBron James as we speak. I've been playing mainly Jake from Adventure Time because it's John DiMaggio, and I love John DiMaggio so much. And Jake basically plays like Kirby from Smash Brothers. He has some of the same moves, so clearly they wear their inspiration on their sleeve, right? But I think they've done a really good job, and it's also free to play, and yeah, it's not as polished as a sort of, you know, fight. Like some of the characters don't feel as responsive, and the hitboxes aren't super accurate, and there's still some bugs. They are calling it an open beta. Like earlier, I used Batman's grappling hook, and it bugged out and sent me like right across the map, and I died. So there's still some like little bugs and glitches and stuff, but it's a really great basis to start with. And I think like if they keep working on it and don't get greedy with the battle pass and stuff, I think it really could give Smash Brothers some serious competition. And hopefully it'll make Nintendo look at what they've got and think like, you know what? Maybe we do need dedicated servers for these kind of games, you know? But yeah, I've been playing Multiversus, really great game. If you like Smash Brothers, definitely check it out on Xbox or PC or PlayStation. It's on it's fully cross-play as well, which is really good. And I've also been playing RimWorld. I think I talked about that last week, so I won't go into it too much.
Let me ask you this question though.
RimWorld's my game of the year so far.
I know. Looking in chat, looking at the cats and dogs debate. This is almost like PlayStation, Xbox. Almost like people are like, you know, dogs will love you no matter what. They're like kids, but you have to earn a cat's love and stuff, right? Like,
yeah, dude. It took me. I've been living with my girlfriend on and off for 8 years. It's taken me about a good 6 years to earn my cat's love, you know.
But
so yeah, you have to earn their love is like an understatement.
With Multiversus doing incredibly well, is it time for Xbox to make their own sort of like Smash Brothers clone with all the IP they will soon have? I mean, is that something that could happen? You know what I'm saying, Jez? Like, people have been asking me about that.
I think the market for this kind of game is probably not that huge, although that could change if Multiversus sort of expands the audience. Because obviously the only way to play Smash Brothers on PC right now is via emulation, and you don't get the online stuff, you know, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't get the online stuff unless there's like hacked versions of the game that have it. I think there is hacked versions of Smash Brothers which do have online play on PC, but I don't know for sure about that. But you know, that hasn't been a great alternative to Smash Brothers. That really had the nostalgia factor, you know, the IP factor. Like Rivals of Aether is great, but the only like known characters it has are like Ori and Shovel Knight, which are great characters, but I can be Batman in this. I could be LeBron, you know. I could be Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, you know. And it's that kind of IP power that I think Smash Brothers has established a game like this kind of. It's almost expected because of Smash Brothers. So Warner Brothers definitely has that, you know, cachet of IP. They could put Neo in this, for God's sake. You know, they could put any DC villain in it. I'm pretty sure the Joker's teased in one of the stages as well. Like Joker's in the background on one of the stages. They're putting Rick and Morty's already confirmed, which is hilarious. They could put Powerpuff Girls in it. Man, there's just so much stuff they could do here. And that's kind of like what Xbox could do, right? But I don't think like Xbox will probably look at this and think maybe we don't compete with multiverses, because the only way they could compete with a game like this is by making it free to play, and then they'll be in direct competition with multiverses, and I don't think they want to do that. I still think like Xbox's play here is either a MOBA, like Heroes of the Storm, which I know you don't like, or Killer Instinct. Make it just a standard fighting game, because there's no other fighting game really like Killer Instinct that's sort of with the combo breakers and that kind of stuff. And they've already got an IP and a fan base for Killer Instinct, so I think they should stick with Killer Instinct and maybe look at doing a MOBA, because then you get the PC audience as well. But I think Microsoft needs to get their house in order before we start talking about that kind of stuff, maybe. Because you know, there's been a lot of discussions lately about the quality of game, you know, the quality of first party over the past year, and it's something we all knew was coming. So since January, we all knew this was coming, but it's people are starting to, you know, really get fed up with it. So maybe we shouldn't discuss them making a mascot game, like multi IP game or whatever, until they actually get their shit in order. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out to Hustle and Motivate. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for being a new member or coming back as a member. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think it's like, because people ask me all the time, like, oh, you know, they have the IP to basically do some sort of fighter like this, but it's like, man, maybe you should do Killer Instinct again first before you know, try to do something like this, because they don't have an internal studio to be able to do it. So it's kind of like you would need an external studio, and part of me thinks Killer Instinct would work better than like an Xbox mascot fighter. But either way, it's cool to see Multiversus doing well, because for a long time it's really only just been Smash as that style of game that has really caught the world's attention, and now this comes out of. I remember what wasn't it leaked first? Didn't like Jeff Grubb leaked it first, and then or do I have that wrong? I forget
I don't know, maybe.
How this actually came about. Like, I think somebody leaked it, and then it was kind of announced, and here we are, and it's an open beta, right?
It's open beta.
Open beta, right?
So like, there's some characters that like they've got a tag experimental, which means they're not finished, and there's a couple of levels that have experimental tagged as well, which means they ain't finished. So like, yeah, it's in open beta, but honestly, it's really pretty damn polished for what it is, and I'm loving it. I haven't played a fighting game this religiously since Killer Instinct back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just jump on, smash people, and the matches are quite short. And it's also innovates over Smash Brothers. It innovates over Smash Brothers. It's got like co-op elements. It's oriented around 2v2. And there's like certain abilities which sort of synergize and buff your co-op partner and stuff. So there's that aspect of it as well, which is really interesting. It's just really cool the way they've done it, and I'm just hopeful that it will actually stay the course, because that Nickelodeon thing was just a bust, really. I think that kind of dropped off really quick, but this has Batman in here. It has Batman.
That's true, and as 72% of the people love dogs say they're better than cats, by the way. So out of 274 votes, which to be expected.
I think that's some stray envy that is right there.
Nah, I mean cats aren't. I don't know who. I mean, it's all about dogs, bro. You know. It's not about them stinky cats.
Man, cats clean themselves. Dogs don't.
It's not. I'm not
Dogs need
talking
to
about
take baths,
smell.
bro.
They're just, stinky cats, man. Who wants them? It's all about them dogs. Anyways, I don't know. Where do you want to start here? There's actually quite a bit to talk about. Let's talk about the Annapurna Showcase, because this will tie into Xbox marketing to a certain extent. Well, so let's just start with Grounded, and we'll work our way here. So Grounded 1.0 release date was finally announced, which is coming September 27th, right? And it was interesting because nobody at Xbox acknowledged it for hours upon hours upon hours until they were sort of called out by the community for not saying anything. This is one of the highlights of Xbox's 2022 from first party wise, because there's not that many releases. It's As Dusk Falls, Forza Horizon, Hot Wheels, Grounded 1.0 finally coming out, and Pentiment. So it's one of the few games from Xbox first party that is coming out this year, and it's a hit. It has 10 million players, right? Finally 1.0. And Xbox was completely silent about it for the whole day. Today, they went and they made a bunch of tweets about it and stuff, right? I saw Kloberl kind of share his opinion about it, about how Xbox marketing is really they're not as laser focused as Marvel or Nintendo or PlayStation's. It seems like everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And then you had the Annapurna Showcase, which might as well have been called the Game Pass Showcase. Did you see any of this stuff here from Annapurna, Jez?
I didn't watch it actually. I don't really. I'm out of the loop, man. I didn't watch it. I sort of since I just got back to Germany, I had to unpack all my stuff, but I still had to do work, so I kind of been out of the loop a little bit. And then I was just chilling with multiverses, and I didn't even get on Twitter for hours yesterday. I missed all the Grounded drama until I came in late for that stuff. So I'm out of the loop with the Annapurna stuff. So you're gonna have to take the reins.
So Annapurna had their showcase.
All I know is that a lot of them were for Game Pass.
Yes, well, that was the thing. It was basically a Game Pass showcase.
That's really strange.
They're finally bringing Pathless to Xbox and the Switch this winter. Solar Ash is coming to Xbox. It's on Game Pass. Marquette's coming to Xbox. It's going to be on Game Pass. There was a whole bunch of games that they announced that were coming to Xbox, but also day one Game Pass titles. It really did feel like it was a Game Pass event, but no acknowledgement from Xbox or the Game Pass Twitter account or any of that stuff. Just, okay, fair enough. And maybe it's well, the games are still yet to come, right? They're not coming out for a while, blah, 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 blah. So, do you need to really say anything about it? But when you tie it in together with Grounded, where you have a first-party title finally coming out, played by 10 million people, that Microsoft didn't even acknowledge the announced release date, with Annapurna showing off a bunch of indie games that are coming to Game Pass, so Microsoft clearly dropped a bunch of money. I guess the discussion is, what's up with Xbox marketing, Jez? Is there a problem? Is Kloberl right in saying that the teams, they're not on the same page, and that Microsoft... well, let me actually read what Kloberl said, so I can kind of not have to... I'm gonna just quote him properly here. Let's see. Because I agreed with it. He said, This has still not been shared in any official Xbox channels, and I'm tired about it. People say it's just a little thing, but all these little things just prove how there is no connected marketing happening at Xbox. There's no comprehensive strategy to see. It happens all the time. Nintendo, Sony, Marvel, etc. are so much better in making news matter by using connected branding. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Xbox is miles away from where they should be here. Grounded is one of the few highlights from Xbox this year, and it just got an official release date. Pause that schedule of social media engagement posts and talk about news for your own games once. So, what do you think, Jez? Do you agree with Clobril? Do you think it's just a bunch of people complaining? Is Xbox marketing need to do better? Because I do have a take on this, which I think some of you have already heard because I've said it repeatedly. But give me your thoughts.
It's kind of like, I'm in two minds about it because we're still 2 months away, right, from Grounded 1.0 dropping. So it's kind of like, is it not maybe too early to start doing the big marketing for this launch date? But on the other hand, every other game that I cover, if there's a launch date being announced, I usually get like a bunch of emails about it. Even the smaller games, even like indie games, working with like smaller PR companies, they'll send me an email saying like, yeah, we've just announced a launch date. Here's the marketing for it. Here's what you need to know. So, and even if you're not gonna like, throw up a billboard on the interstate or like do TV ads or something, you'd at least do a press blast. So like, YouTube channels make sure YouTube channels see it, and make sure press outlets see it and stuff like that. Because Grounded's not a small tiny game. Like, it's served like you say, 10 million players, right? So honestly, I do think someone at Microsoft dropped the ball here, and I do think like things do seem to be slipping through the cracks. Maybe they're like they need more people to be keeping an eye on this stuff. Maybe part of me often wonders, is first party not too big? Maybe they need to split first party up under two people, like Matt Booty and someone else, so that things like this don't get missed, so that there is someone who's advocating for like the smaller studios that aren't maybe directly at Redmond and stuff. But I'm it is a legitimate question to be made here. Like, what is going on? That at the very least should have got a press blast.
Yeah, like it should have been a Newswire blog post, right, announcing the release date. Like I'm not going to compare the games in terms of scope, but imagine a situation where like Sony Santa Monica announces the release date of God of War Ragnarok, but then the official PlayStation accounts don't even bother mentioning it, and they don't put up a blog post about it. That would be similar as kind of what happened here. It was just like Grounded made the announcement on their Twitter account, and then nobody said anything else. Like, and it's not like, okay, and I understand about the whole marketing. Well, it's 2 months out. Do you want to market it? But it's like a retweet. Like, you couldn't just retweet it or make it own. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not even really marketing. It's just like you press a button and it's done and over with. I don't know.
What if Obsidian just went ahead without informing anyone? What if Xbox marketing was blindsided, and maybe Obsidian's just like, because Microsoft has always talked about how they're hands off with the studios, right? What if the communication didn't come from Obsidian side? And I'm just sort of speculating here. I don't know. I don't know if there was a communication
possibility is like they went ahead and announced the release date, and everybody at Xbox freaked out, and we're like, "Well, is this actually it? Like, don't say anything."
I'm sure Microsoft. I'm sure like they knew about the release date, but maybe they were putting plans in motion to actually make a bigger deal of it or something, and make sure the press knew and stuff. But if they are truly hands off, I can easily see there being a scenario where there was a breakdown in communication.
I guess that's totally possible.
And if like Obsidian thinks themselves, Obsidian seems to at least seem like they feel very independent, and I think a lot of the other studios have this sort of sense of independence as well, especially if they're not like literally at Redmond campus and stuff. And Microsoft, they purposefully operate in it that way. They want the studios to feel like they have their own identity and stuff like that. and that it's mainly about being in Game Pass and supporting Xbox. But within that sort of, they're not operating like how Disney operates, where everything's controlled with an iron fist, in a
True.
sort of almost draconian kind of way. So I'm thinking like, yeah, it made Xbox look bad, but was it actually intentional, or wasn't it more like maybe they just decided themselves, we're going to go ahead with this?
What was more important?
Like, see,
you know what was more important? Putting on
that?
a tweet about American Girl doll, Xbox accessories.
I did see that.
That was more important than tweeting about your release date of, one of your games. I'm just.
Maybe they didn't even see it, because I didn't see it.
What, the release date for Grounded?
I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it.
Because the only one that talked about it was the Grounded Twitter account.
That's what I mean. Like, clearly there's a breakdown in communication, I think. But,
I mean, it's certainly possible. This is what I've said for a long time about Microsoft's marketing. They are really good when it comes to marketing the brand. When it comes to marketing Xbox, right? You see all those great little Twitter posts by Stein and company, or those great little advertisements, with the songs that Josh Muncy puts out, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when they did spoof the Backstreet Boys, or they actually had that group from back in the days. Like, they're good at that sort of viral marketing of the brand. They were great with the Series X, really good with the Series S. Like, they're good marketing the console and the brand Xbox and Game Pass. I've always said that their marketing sort of falls apart or doesn't match what they do for the brand when it comes to their individual games. And I'm not sure why.
I think that is because of what I said, that they don't run all their studios in the same way that maybe Sony does or Nintendo does, where everything's sort of overseen with a sort of, with an eye of Sauron, like attentiveness. Like Minecraft, for example. Minecraft almost feels like a separate entity a lot of the time. Like the Minecraft still almost run like an indie game. Like the pace of updates for Minecraft and like the fact that they couldn't even get like Xbox Series X enhancements and stuff. Can you imagine if Sony owned Minecraft? There'd be a PS5. I feel like there'd be a PS5 version with all the enhancements on day one. I feel like that would be a thing day one. They'd have like integration with the DualSense. Like you could use a bow and arrow in Minecraft, and like the DualSense would pull all that stuff, and all that kind of stuff would have been there day one, because that's how Sony does things. Everything's sort of under that sort of one corporate roof. But Microsoft has been sort of like, they've been taking on a sort of hands-off approach, as we all know, and they've been very vocal about that. And that's because they want to preserve those studios' culture. And I suppose, like, in a way, they don't want to end up in a situation like they had with Lionhead, where they got sort of burned and they maybe got too involved and kind of screwed things up a little. So, and Drew says it in chat, this topic's pay, and it's true. It is a little bit pay, but what it does do is, like, it touches on a wider issue of the broader sort of the way the marketing comes across, and it does often come across like Xbox is more like a holding company for a sort of disconnected bunch of teams, rather than a sort of a Disney-like, everything under sort of one system kind of thing. It's hard to put into words exactly what I mean.
I don't know if it's.
But you basically,
I don't know if it's petty. I mean, I'm just saying, like, a bunch of people were really on Xbox yesterday for what happened. Now, you could be completely right. It could have been a breakdown in communication. Maybe they weren't supposed to announce it, but people pay attention. And I've saw it a lot of times where people say that Cloverworld does better marketing than Xbox does for their own stuff. Or that, Cold Eastwood or Dealer or myself, are better informed Xbox fans about what's going on than they do. 'Cause I used
That's
to
what we're here for.
I used to hear that a lot. Okay, you can make that. I'm just saying, like, I think some people are they're just scratching their head and they just don't understand. And it was a big thing that happened yesterday, and I don't really think it's petty because I sort of feel like this is just par for the course with marketing, because when it's in an individual game, it's like it's like I'm not going to say they don't care, but they don't know what to do, or they feel that Game Pass will market it, right? A lot of people were like, where was the marketing for Forza Horizon Hot Wheels or As Dusk Falls? But, like, you could make the argument that, like, well, As Dusk Falls is going to show up in your Game Pass subscription. You can just download it. Do you have to spend a whole bunch of marketing to let people know that game's out? And maybe they sort of feel the same thing with Grounded. Like, it's going to show up in Game Pass on PC and Xbox and just be there. That's their marketing tool. Like, Game Pass is the marketing tool, and Xbox markets Game Pass, so they don't need to market each of the individual games within it. But yeah, I don't know. I've sort of felt this disconnect with Xbox marketing for the individual games for some time now. Like, yeah, sure, they'll spend a lot of money on Gears or Halo and the big hitters, but then anything that's underneath the prestige of those titles kind of just slips through the cracks. But like you said, maybe this was just a mix-up, and we'll never know about it. But it's just interesting, because then you combine it with the Annapurna thing, and they had a whole bunch of Game Pass announcements, but like there was no tweets about it from ID at Xbox or Game Pass accounts or the official Xbox account. So it's just like, it seemed like a missed opportunity. Like, the only reason you would even know those games were announced for Game Pass was if you watched it, which not a lot of people did, or if you followed certain Xbox fan accounts on Twitter that mentioned, hey, these games are coming to Game Pass. I sort of feel like you shouldn't have to go to the fan accounts to get that information. That information should be shared by official Xbox channel accounts.
Well, I will say this. They are hiring a communications manager right now for Xbox Wire. So maybe, Rand, it's the economy to blame. Maybe they can't get the people in. Because that's one thing that's what I keep seeing on the news on the BBC and stuff, that every industry's can't find any employees right now. Like, all the airports in England are screwed up because there's not enough baggage handlers. The NHS and the hospitals are screwed up because there's not enough nurses and doctors. Like, every country apparently has no workers. So, there are a bunch of openings at Microsoft's marketing team right now. Maybe they're understaffed. Maybe some of the things slipped through the cracks because of that. Maybe the economy's screwed up. Maybe it's all Joe Biden's fault. Ran. I've seen that a lot on Twitter lately as well.
Yeah. Syed in the super chat says, did you guys see Hoglaw's video about the FTC and Meta and what they could mean for Microsoft Activision? Seems like the FTC is acting very aggressively. We
are going to talk about that.
Yeah, we definitely are going to talk about that. Let me get through some of these other super chats when we were talking about the Xbox marketing thing. Let's see, because the FTC, man, like, who knows with them? Because I even saw that her staff basically told her not to go after the Meta thing, and she still did. So does that make the Activision thing a little bit like, So the Andrew says, dealer mentioned how bad Forza Horizon 5's marketing was this week too. And that might be the thing. Like, I sort of think Xbox feels Game Pass does all the heavy lifting for it. Like, a couple tweets about Forza coming to Game Pass, a launch trailer or, a release trailer, and boom, you're good to go, because suddenly now all these people that are playing this game in Game Pass who are looking at it like, boom, it's there and you can download and you can play it. And it's like, why waste millions marketing it when your subscription is going to market it for you? but I don't know if that's. Maybe it works for some things, but I don't know if I don't know it works for everything. Lucius says Annapurna had a showcase with a bunch of games coming to Xbox and Game Pass. Meanwhile, media sounds from Xbox about their games. It's not just Grounded. Flash Gordon says Matt Booty needs to go and 343. Man, 343. People aren't happy this week. Solar Reaper says I need a shirt from you guys that says the controversy of filmic bone cream, please and thank you.
I was actually thinking about the idea that we need some more merch today. Maybe I get Sean LeBrie on the horn when he's back from Italy. Yeah. Sean LeBrie is traveling Europe right now, or at least he was last week.
J Primo says
nice from Rome
everybody loves to hate Xbox, can't do anything right. I wouldn't hate. I don't know about hate. I mean, there's definitely people that hate Xbox. There's definitely people that wake up every single day and the first thing they do is how can I hate Xbox on social media today? Like it's a platform that I don't care about. But you know what? I'm gonna talk about. Yeah, those people hate the console. Like me and Jez, we don't hate Xbox. We love Xbox. We want it to do better. It's just certain things that we've seen them do time over time. And I understand people don't like it when you criticize your favorite platform. I get it. You're like, and I don't want to hear this because to you, maybe it's not a big deal that they didn't mention Grounded or that the Annapurna games weren't there or, you think Halo's doing great or what other some of the things people complain about, right? Or talk about. I mean, I think there's healthy criticism. We have been trying, we just want Xbox to do better, be better, because we know they can. And these sort of things need to be talked about. You can't just bury your head in the sand and pretend everything is gravy. Because if we did that in 2017, we'd have been like, Xbox doesn't need more studios. What they have is perfectly acceptable. It's great. The Xbox One generation is amazing and all these different things. Because there definitely were people that were saying that. Because there's definitely are always going to be people who think that Xbox or PlayStation can do no wrong. I mean, I remember when last year Xbox was trying to pull a fast one and raise the price of Xbox Live Gold to $120 a year. And there was legit people defending that. Oh, yeah, I'll pay that. And it's like, how? Like, what? So, look, I'm not a marketer. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I'm just a YouTuber who likes Xbox. And, I have some opinions about it. And,
I thought you did have a marketing degree.
I've took marketing classes. I don't necessarily have a marketing degree.
What's your degree in?
I don't really have a degree in anything, at least not a bachelor's or anything. I don't know. There's just certain things I've noticed about Xbox over the course of time that I feel need to be addressed, especially when you're going to be getting into next year when you have, 7 games coming in the first 6 months and who knows coming at the end. Like, you can't just assume everybody's going to know what's going on because of Game Pass, right? People shouldn't need to come to Randall Thor or Dealer Gaming or Cold Eastwood or Cloburl or Jez Corden to hear everything that's going on in the world of Xbox. You know what I mean? I mean, it's great that people click on the videos and they watch the podcast, but and I'm forever grateful for that. But I still feel like that stuff should be coming from them. So it's just, I don't know. It's just a way for them to be better, I suppose. Will that happen? I don't know. Maybe they have data that says This is the best way to go about it. I don't know. You know?
I don't know. I think we'll see more serious marketing in the next month or so. But I think this might have just been a communications breakdown. It's not a big deal. But I do agree with you that it's a trend that happens. I mean, do you remember the whole like, you know, they prioritized Gears instead of Forza for marketing that year, and they were like, oh, actually, Forza did really well, you know. And it's also kind of is what it is, you know.
And they don't even really
I really like saying that.
market Forza that much, but Forza just does extremely well. I have no idea why. I mean, I know why, because it's a great game, but it's not like Xbox. I remember hearing a story back when Gears 4 and Forza Horizon 3 launched, that Xbox was totally caught off guard by how well Forza like they spent all their marketing on Gears 4 because they thought that was the game that was going to be the big seller. And then Forza Horizon 3 just took off and just surpassed Gears, and they were shocked that that happened. So I guess you can never tell which game's going to do great, but it was an interesting thing. And even so, you put out a tweet that angered a lot of people, Jez.
I did. I love doing that. That's my favorite thing to do in the whole world.
Anger people?
Yeah. See my bean tweets?
I see your bean tweets.
Beans now.
But what if I told you I disagree with your tweet, though?
I can't even remember what I tweeted now.
It was the one about people complaining about Xbox and their games and stuff and their first party.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you disagree because you hate 99% of all genres.
Bull.
No, it's not bull.
That's not bull. That's not why I disagree.
And also you disagree because, you know, you just like, you hate most games. The vast majority of games you hate them.
What do you mean?
Like you won't play RimWorld.
I played more games
you won't
than
play
you could
Multiverses.
possibly imagine. What are you talking about?
Yeah, for Chivos.
Yeah, so.
But now that you're not into Chivos, you only like two kinds of games: story games that have no gameplay, and trending battle royale games. Those are the only two games you like.
Story games that have no gameplay. Okay.
Yes.
And battle royale games that have no gameplay and battle royale.
And Fortnite. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't even the main. That wasn't even the main thing I took. Is the idea that you can't complain unless you played everything on Game Pass, which I think is a terrible argument.
Exactly.
That's not exactly what you said. That's what you said, Jez.
Nah. That was just an example.
Oh, please.
That was just an example.
Please.
Nah, I said the variety in Game Pass alone is staggering. But you don't have to play all the games in Game Pass. There are plenty of games on other platforms you could play as well. You know, that aren't on Game Pass. And they're not even that expensive. A lot of them on sale. Yeah, my point was there are things in the backlog that people could play. And also, like, they don't have to be exclusive to be good, which is another point I was making.
I mean, I agree with you on that. But you did say there's no chance you've experienced everything on offer, which says basically you can't complain unless you played everything in Game Pass. Right? Oh, I think
it's not what I meant.
Oh, well, I mean that's when I saw it, I was like, "What's Jets talking about here?"
That's not what I meant. Because honestly, a lot of the games in Game Pass, I'm not that enamored with. But you know, that's the point I was getting at. Is that there are tons of games that people could play.
Sure.
But they don't want to play them because either they're not trending games, or they're not super cool, and a lot of it's FOMO. Like, I don't care about playing games that are from my distant backlog. You know, I have a list of games that I want to play and get around to. You know what kind of games are in that list?
What?
Dragon Age Inquisition's DLC. You know?
Okay.
So I know you would say like, oh, I don't want to play that. It's an old game. But I don't have that mentality because it's still a good game and I still want to play it eventually. The DLC that I missed. And I will do it eventually someday. I haven't finished Elden Ring either. And I know I'll do it someday. But I know like a lot of... I will.
No, you won't. No, you
I
won't.
finished Dark Souls. It took 10 years, but I finished it eventually. I'll finish Dark Souls 2 as well.
Are you
Eventually,
gonna
and
finish
3,
Elden Ring
eventually.
on the Xbox Series X, or we're gonna have to wait for the Xbox Series X2?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Will there even be an X2 because of chip shortage? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Well, I guess the US government just passed that new Chips Act. Did you see that?
I did not. But
Yeah. So the US government passed a thing where they're going to make more chips domestically now and bypass Chinese supply chains or something. And they gave all that money to chip manufacturers like Intel and stuff. So, they got billions of dollars of taxpayer money to help with this. Yeah, that's what the Chips Act is. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think people should just, it was aimed at people who they come out with this hyperbole and this doom and gloom that there's literally nothing to play. And I'm just hit up your backlog. What's the big deal? I feel like I've got too much to play, and I don't need to play. I don't need games to be exclusive. I don't need games to be current. But that's just me, And I feel like if you do need a game to be current and you do need a game to be trending to enjoy it, I think that's a you problem. I really do.
Is it though?
I think that's a you problem, right? Yeah, it is. It's a you problem.
Is it?
You don't want to play an older game just because it's old. That's a you problem. You don't want to play a game because it's a multi-platform. That's a you problem. Doesn't mean Xbox
I don't know.
can't do better.
I don't know about
multi-platform
because multi-platform makes up 99% of the library.
Exactly.
So I think when people say
That's
Xbox has no games, I don't think they literally mean it has no games. They're just talking about first party. But third party always basically carries the consoles. So I don't know. I just saw the whole Game Pass thing and it made it sound like you were saying you can't really complain unless you play everything in Game Pass, which is,
Nah, that's not what I meant. Well, because not everyone likes everything in Game Pass. It was just an example. There's a lot of stuff you could play in Game Pass. You could explore new genres. You could play multiverses with me around it, but you have this predefined mentality of, oh, I don't like games like that, so I'm not going to play that stupid game.
No interest in playing multiverses.
I mean, maybe this is the game that converts you, man. Maybe it's a game that converts you, baby. Yeah, Clicker says Rand likes to play remake cash grabs. I don't know. I think he's right about that.
Wait, what?
You like to play remake cash grabs? So you're hyped up for Dead Space remake, which barely looks any different to the original.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense if I was also hyped to play Last of Us remake, but I'm not. So, womp. There goes your argument.
But you do want to play Dead Space remake.
But I'm not the one complaining there's nothing to play, though, am I?
Well, yeah, you're not. But there are a bunch of people that are.
True.
I don't know. It's mainly aimed at that kind of rhetoric that Xbox has no games, and it's just but what about all these multiplats? I don't give a shit if something's exclusive. Put Starfield on PlayStation. I don't give a shit. I am one of those people who think Xbox even needs exclusives. I literally don't care. The only reason I advocate for exclusives is because the community seems to want them. The community seems to care.
Oh God,
I literally don't care.
Could you imagine? You woke up one day and Xbox is all of our games are now on Nintendo and PlayStation.
I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't care at all. I wouldn't care at all, right?
I mean, I probably wouldn't care either. But could you imagine the reaction though? Whew, man.
Yeah, the reaction would be spicy as hell. But I don't play games because they're exclusive. I play games because they're fun. I play games anywhere. Generally. I prefer to play them on Xbox just because my Xbox is the one that is set up and the one where all my friends play and all that kind of stuff.
I think
I just generally enjoy the platform.
Outside of exclusives being okay, this is what differentiates this console from that. A lot of people gravitate towards exclusives because they're the ones that are supposed to take advantage of everything the console has to offer, at least in years past, right? Because you weren't making a multi-platform game, so you could get everything out of the 360 or the Xbox One or the Series X. You could push it to the metal right? And you'd have these experiences that maybe you couldn't have in multi-platform games because those games would have to have compromises, right?
Mm.
So I think there's some people that are like that. Like, you look at the exclusives from all these companies, are like, man, that game is going to push things forward simply because it can. Where like you have a lot of these companies doing cross-gen and kind of keeping everything even keel, but like you don't have to do that with the first party game, right? So maybe that's kind of gone by the wayside recently. But yeah, in years past, it was always like the exclusives are the ones that, I mean, there was a point in time like Halo was one of the best looking games on console, period. Gears, best looking games on console, period. Like that's what the exclusives were because they took advantage of the hardware. But
And there used to be like exclusive features, but Xbox doesn't really have that kind of stuff now.
I mean, not
we
yet.
can't even get ray tracing in Minecraft.
Yeah, where's the ray tracing in
okay.
Minecraft?
I have no idea. No idea. I will probably never get it.
Yeah.
I'm so salty about that, by the way. I really am. I'm super salty. I want ray tracing in bloody Minecraft.
I know you do. I'm sorry, Jez. I'm sorry you never get your ray tracing in Minecraft. I'm so sorry you're never going to be able to get that.
Big deal, right? It's the ultimate first world problem. I want my shadows to look pretty in Minecraft. Why has the Lord forsaken me? Why does my water look pixelated? That's what I'm upset about. I don't care about exclusives, man. But I think like the excitement for me comes around like the fact that Microsoft needs them in order to win, so they will theoretically push the games to be better. And like, while we're still in this holding pattern, we're still waiting to see the fruits of this. We do have Psychonauts to point at as an example of Microsoft's money elevating a game beyond where it could possibly have been. And I think, honestly, Grounded is another example of that. Grounded is a game that if Obsidian had made it by themselves or partnered with Devolver or an indie publisher, it would be nowhere near as good as it could possibly potentially be. What we're still waiting for are those AAA bangers, your Gears of War 6 or your, and Starfield and stuff like that. And, maybe Starfield would be better for it. Maybe Starfield wouldn't have got delayed if Microsoft hadn't stepped in. Maybe they would have released Starfield in a messy state to hit their financial targets and patched it over the course of the coming year, Maybe Halo Infinite wouldn't have been delayed either, and it'd be even more of a train wreck than it is, this live service is now, or whatever. But I think like it's kind of like we're just still waiting. And I get that it's frustrating. I really do. If you feel like none of the games, if you really do feel like you've got nothing to play because none of the games appeal to you because you only like two kinds of games, like Rand, for example, it sucks. I appreciate that, but I would also argue try something new. Go outside of your comfort zone. Like Rand won't even try multiverses because he's got this. He hates Nintendo so much that he can't look at multiverses without getting triggered and imagining Mario coming out the screen to, steal his dinner money or something, his lunch money. Rand, I want to know something about you, by the way.
What?
Right, we're gonna have a therapy session at the moment, right?
Okay.
What is it about Nintendo that you hate so much?
I don't hate Nintendo. That's
what did Nintendo
an exaggeration.
Do to you? What did Nintendo do to you?
Nintendo did nothing. I just didn't play any of their games from the Super Nintendo to the 64. So all that nostalgia that people have for Nintendo, I don't have. That's it.
Rand, it's okay. this is a safe space. Okay? You don't have to. You can drop the pretense. You can drop the denial. This is a safe space for you to discuss what Nintendo did to you, Rand.
They didn't do anything, bro. I'm telling you the truth.
We're supporting you.
Did nobody else?
Everyone in chat supports you.
Did nobody else go through the similar thing as me? I had it. I had the original NES, and then after that, I went to Sega. I never got a Super Nintendo. I never owned a Nintendo 64. I got a GameCube when it was $99. So like, the nostalgia that people have for all their franchises that they built up for countless generations doesn't exist with me. Right? I don't have the nostalgia for Zelda. I don't have the nostalgia for Pokemon. I don't have the nostalgia for, like Mario or Smash or any of these other things, Mario Kart or whatever, because I only owned one of their systems as a kid, and I skipped the rest of them completely. So when people talk about Super Metroid and whatever the Zelda game was on the Super Nintendo, I don't even know, or Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or whatever else Nintendo games were on the 60. Like, I didn't play any of those. And yeah, like, it's a gaming shame of mine that I probably missed some incredible games from back then, right? But that's why. So, like, Nintendo literally means nothing to me because I have no history with them.
Okay. Rand, calm down. This is a safe space. You don't need to be angry here. I can sense a lot of negative energy coming from you right now.
You asked.
Okay. Calm down. Calm down. It's okay, Rand. But you get my point, right? You get my point. That you could try something new. That you don't have to be set in your ways. Like, I honestly, I tried Multiverses purely on a whim for coverage. I was not even going to touch this game. I haven't played Smash Brothers in years, and I absolutely love it. So sometimes games can surprise you if you actually.
I got a lot of support in the chat. Look at all these people that went down a similar path as me. Jakester says I'm Chad Rand. Nintendo means nothing to me, right? Look at so much support here. Although somebody says that. 80 says that Rand's in so much denial.
Oh man!
Ban Monday says Rand never felt the love of a good Nintendo game, and now he is now an angry old man. Yeah,
man. I'm the same way. Like I barely played any Nintendo games. It was literally just Pokemon was so huge in my school, man. I can't even tell you. Like, every kid had Pokemon cards. Every kid had a Game Boy. The only game they had was Pokemon. I was just that perfect age. And I think because you're what, 53 now? You kind of missed out on that whole
53.
You missed out on the Pokemon craze by a couple of years, right? Or something like that. But it's I didn't. It bit me bad. But I couldn't get into Nintendo in the UK because their games are just so damn expensive. They're just way more expensive than Nintendo games. So I was just like, I'll be a Sega kid, I'll accept it. But hey, Sonic was pretty rad.
Bro,
Star Heroes, you ever play that?
I went on the Spawncast, okay, with Spawnwave and RGT and OJ and Miss Click and Dreamcast Guy and MVG and Nate the Hate. All these guys love Nintendo, so much, and I literally said, I couldn't care less about Nintendo. And I said it with my chest out because it's true.
with conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it.
Surprised their audience doesn't hate me.
What it is.
It's like, I don't give two shits about Nintendo, about anything Nintendo does. It might as well not exist to me.
Man, I like Nintendo, but I do sort of watch them on the periphery. I really wish they just invest more in their cloud infrastructure and their hardware and stuff. But you know, it really bugs me that Nintendo doesn't have achievements either. How do we end up talking about Nintendo for
I don't know.
like
I
20
don't know how
minutes?
we got here. We went from like Xbox marketing to like
Nintendo.
I don't know. How,
Nintendo kills Microsoft on marketing.
oh, then we
Will you
talked
agree
about
with
your
that, at
tweet.
least?
You talking about your tweet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and somehow
But do
we
you
ended
agree
up
with
here.
me? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me that Nintendo kills Microsoft on marketing? Marketing games, at least.
Yes.
The hype for the mere rumor of a new Smash character, even from people who don't even play the game, is incredible. And I know that they have a lot of nostalgia powering that stuff, which probably does make it easier to a degree. But yeah, I wish Microsoft could do stuff like that. You know, build up that kind of hype. But anyway, that's enough of that. What's the next topic?
Flash Gordon says 343 should have not have caved to the OG Halo 3 community and stayed with the Halo 5 combat visuals and pacing and evolved, but instead they devolved. There's little news about Halo Infinite this week. No co-op matchmaking, which
Who cares?
who cares? I saw some people tried to use this for like console war ammunition. Like, oh my god, yeah. Who cares that it doesn't have co-op matchmaking? Like, you know, I don't know. Like,
That's such a non-issue
I think
for
the
me.
only Halo that had that is Reach. I want to say it had co-op matchmaking.
Yeah, you're right.
The rest of them didn't.
Yeah,
like, whatever. Like, co-op matchmaking doesn't need to be a thing. So, I don't know. Maybe some people in chat disagree, but it's perfectly fine. Inviting your friends. It doesn't need matchmaking for co-op. Next up,
I'd hate to play that with randoms. They'll just troll you and stuff. But I've noticed, Rand, that British people and Americans approach online multiplayer very differently. Like American lobbies, people are all chatting with strangers and stuff. But British lobbies are usually like really quiet because everyone's too like, I don't want to talk to strangers. Did they never teach you at school in America not to talk to strangers?
Yeah, of course they did.
There's a whole campaign here on TV. Like if you talk to strangers, you'll automatically die. And I don't know. I think I've took that through my whole life now. I just don't want to talk to strangers. That's why we don't really do guests on the podcast either. It's like it's a bit scary, isn't it? Like whoa.
Yeah. Microsoft's SEC filing came out today, Jez. And they said, we continue to invest in new gaming studios and content to expand our IP roadmap and leverage new content creators. So, it seems that Xbox is looking to continue growing its first-party studios and IP roster. Surprise, surprise. Granted, the Activision Blizzard deal hasn't gone through, but I think it's like me and Jez have said before. I do really think this deal is holding up other deals. And they're all hands on deck trying to get this one to push through. And that eventually when it does go through, there'll be other things that they can start to work on.
I've got a conspiracy theory about that, Rand.
Oh, what's your conspiracy theory? Hit me up on this.
Okay, well, let's combine this topic with the other topic, which is the FTC blocking a deal for Facebook tried to buy a VR fitness company recently.
That made the Supernatural fitness app, right? A Supernatural fitness app or something?
I've never heard of it myself, but apparently it's a pretty big deal. And the FTC blocked it very unexpectedly.
Yes.
Very strangely. And this has led to a bunch of speculation that the FTC are now going to start punishing tech companies who try to make acquisitions, which is obviously a bit concerning if you're someone who supports Microsoft buying up Activision Blizzard. Here's my conspiracy theory, Rand.
Okay.
My conspiracy theory is Microsoft went for Activision Blizzard because they thought they saw this change coming And really what the FTC is interested in is blocking smaller companies being purchased, not bigger ones.
Wait, so repeat that again? You think the FTC is more interested in blocking smaller companies rather than large companies?
I think, right, a lot of people are thinking that now I could be completely wrong about this, but this is my thinking on it. And the FTC themselves, if you actually read what they said, they actually said something to this effect. But this is where I sort of got this idea from, is what the FTC said themselves. And I am paraphrasing here. But they said the reason they're investigating this Facebook deal for the Supernatural app is because Facebook is muscling in on a new industry in a bid to basically own it, right? So the FTC's sort of, Flash Gordon says the FTC does not block, they sue. Yeah, they've sued to attempt to block it. Facebook will have to argue in court, okay, about it and that sort of thing. And it's a pretty risky move on the part of the FTC, because they're basically preventing a company from exercising their autonomy in selling itself, which is pretty dangerous, right? And Jayhawk says I don't know what I'm talking about, but hey, hear me out, right? The FTC said they're suing because Facebook is trying to buy up a new industry which could lead to a monopoly of a relatively new business segment in VR, which could lead to, a lack of innovation in the space. And their mentality is that when social media started blowing up back in the day, Facebook went around and they basically bought everything. They bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, and they became this essentially they became a social media monopoly. Things are starting to change now a little bit, but only in China, really. Because in the West, Facebook is still God. Twitter has tens of millions of users. Facebook has 2 billion users, I want to say 2.1 billion users or something like that. So it's Twitter and Twitter has a lot of influence because journalists like using Twitter. And there's an intricate sort of relationship between Twitter and the press that Facebook just doesn't have. But honestly, in terms of social media, Facebook is essentially a monopoly. So what the FTC doesn't want is Facebook to buy up all these smaller VR companies and create a monopoly in the VR space, which is pretty new and fresh. However, Microsoft buying Activision demonstrably does not give them any sort of monopoly in any way. Doesn't give them monopoly in monthly active users. Doesn't give them monopoly in revenue. It doesn't even sort of register on the global chart for them having a monopoly if they buy Activision Blizzard, which is a company basically at the end of its life. Activision Blizzard is a struggling company right now, and for the health of Activision Blizzard and frankly the employees, it's gonna be a good thing ultimately for them to buy up Activision Blizzard. There's hardly any argument against it realistically, and I personally think that this is not the same situation. This isn't just the FTC looking to slap big tech and just being let's be dicks to all big tech and let's see how much we can change things around here. I honestly think this is more like them stopping Facebook from potentially having a monopoly in VR while it's new, in the same way they ended up in a monopoly of social media when it was new. I think that's more where it comes from. And if you read about what the FTC said, that's kind of their mentality on this. It's very different to the situation with Activision Blizzard, which, while it's a lot more money, which makes it seem like on paper it's a bigger deal, the idea of Facebook, if the metaverse ever did become a thing, and I don't think it ever will, but if it ever did, the last company you want to have a monopoly over the metaverse is Facebook. So I think there's a stronger mentality here and a better argument to be made about stopping Facebook from owning VR and the quote unquote metaverse than there is about Microsoft owning Activision, which won't give them anywhere near a monopoly in the gaming industry, won't give them anywhere near a monopoly in monthly active users. It won't affect them at all when it comes to ad revenue, social media, manipulating the public. You know, if Facebook owns VR, Facebook can literally influence public opinion in much the same way that their policies influence public opinion right now with their social media platforms. So it's a very, very different set of mentalities there, why they're suing Facebook versus whether or not they let Activision go through. So that's my thought process on it, you know. And I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the FTC is just being purely ideological. Maybe they are just trying to be dicks to all big tech without much thought going into it. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm completely off base on this. But I don't think so. I think this is about stopping Facebook potentially getting a monopoly in a new market rather than them just wielding a sledgehammer and going after big tech. That's my thought process on it. Could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
But it wasn't necessarily, they're not blocking them necessarily because
no, they're suing them to block.
Well, yeah, they're suing them because they don't want them to dominate VR. It was because it had to do with them dominating VR fitness apps.
Well, even still, it's just another step, right? They said that they want to I'm pretty sure, if I might be paraphrasing here, but I think they mentioned how Instagram was negatively impacted from Facebook buying them, and they sort of, if you know, Facebook keeps pushing this way to integrate all these different apps and stuff, it does hurt innovation, you know, because a lot of these companies will be like looking to get bought by Facebook, and there won't be anyone else competing in the space, you know. And while VR barely exists right now, I think the FTC will be less inclined to sort of block this stuff if there was another big competitor in the space, because right now there just isn't. You know, VR is still very small, and the only other VR platform really is, you know, HTC Vive, which is prohibitively expensive. But even like, you know, even the Meta Quest is becoming a little bit more expensive now. But I think that's more what it's about. It's about them being careful in an industry that's relatively new and nascent and stuff. I could be completely wrong, and maybe they are just being dicks. Maybe they just hate capitalism. I don't know.
It was because, like I said before, her aide said, "Don't do this," and she did it. And I watched Hogue Law's video about this, and he basically destroyed the FTC in his hour-long video. Because it was
I didn't watch Hogue Law's video
because they were just like saying like, oh, they could do this and they might do this, and you know, they were trying to compare Beat Saber to this like supernatural app, and it's not even the same thing. And they're like, well, you know, Meta could have made their own thing instead of buying this company. And like, he was just like, this isn't what the law. He was just basically saying like, this is like they're overreaching, and that like, but it might have consequences for Activision Blizzard and Xbox, because like this sort of thing where it's like, yeah, maybe they make the same sort of argument that like, well, Xbox should make their own things, or this would go in a long way to like decreasing I don't know, like, because they were also concerned about like jobs and stuff like that. I don't know. Or how about this one? How about maybe just the federal government hates Facebook, and they're just gonna try to F Facebook?
I mean, yeah,
it's like just
they definitely hate Facebook.
So, yeah. But the other interesting
there's
thing,
been rumors for years that Zuckerberg wants to become president someday. Have you heard that?
That'll never happen.
Hey, man, people say Trump would never be president.
True, but I just couldn't see. I just can't see Zuckerberg president. But
yeah, but dude, think of this, right? If the metaverse does take off, and Zuckerberg literally controls everything you see on Facebook, and he basically tells all the NPCs out there what to think, I think he could become president.
Oh, jeez.
I think he could, man. Maybe it's all a conspiracy, bro.
Well, the other thing that was interesting with Meta was that they raised the price of the Quest 2 VR headset $100.
Yeah, which is that's definitely a interesting strategy. Interesting. Have you got a Meta Quest?
Flash Gordon says I'm misrepresenting Hoag's take. It's hard to remember everything Hoag said in his hour-long thing. I'd recommend people go check out the video because he obviously is a mergers and acquisitions lawyer and he knows way more about that than I could even speculate on. And I'm just trying to draw from my memory what I remember him talking about. So if I misrepresented Hoag's take on it, it wasn't intentional because there's a lot there to talk about, and and I just don't recall it all. So it's better you just go listen to his take on it. But the other interesting was raising the price of the Quest 2 $100, right? And
that's definitely interesting.
Which is an interesting tactic to do. I don't have we ever really seen consumer electronics or consumer things like go up in price after a period of time? I'm trying to think of an example because usually like they always say the early adopter gets screwed because like the product will have issues and then the price will drop, right? But you never really see like the price rising years later.
It's never happened ever. I can't think of a time where it's ever happened. And maybe it's just like, maybe it's just Facebook realizing that they can't sell it at this much of a loss because they're not making any money back on the software sales. Because I think they're in a Nintendo Wii situation where a lot of people just buy this console just to play one game, and that's Beat Saber for fitness reasons. Similarly to the Nintendo Wii, a lot of people bought that console, but they only bought it for Wii Fit because they managed to convince a lot of people that they could buy a Nintendo Wii and lose weight. So a lot of people who weren't gamers, they bought a Nintendo Wii, which, wasn't huge margins for Nintendo. And then they only bought one game for it, which was Wii Fit. And I think that something similar is probably happening to MetaQuest, where they're not attaching much software to each person who buys one. Because, the fatigue, you can't really spend more than an hour at a time in VR. I've used VR quite a lot now. I use it mainly for Beat Saber, for cardio. I can't really spend more than an hour in VR because it's so fatiguing. And you're like cognitively fatiguing. It makes you dizzy. Even Beat Saber, where you stand still. And part of that is because I'm short-sighted, which I think does affect it to some degree. But dude, a lot of people are short-sighted. A lot of people are short-sighted and wear glasses. But I don't know. Well, I think VR is going to be Zuckerberg's Windows Phone. Eventually, he's just going to have to realize it works as an accessory, like what PlayStation's doing. It works as an accessory for enthusiasts, but it's never going to be the default way people browse the web. And that's the only reason Zuckerberg wants it. He wants an entry point to the internet that he can control. Because as we saw this year, a single line policy change on the Apple Store wiped $10 billion off Facebook's ad revenue. $10 billion. And all it took was a single box on iOS where people could opt out of ad tracking. And because of that, they lost $10 billion. So they want to have a hardware platform where they get to control what people can and can't opt out of when it comes to ads. VR ain't it, buddy. VR just ain't it. And I think Zuckerberg thinks like he'll make it work in the next 10 years. I think he's looking more at the next 20 years. And I think he's looking at tens of billions of dollars of investment instead of like a couple of $10 billion worth of investment to actually make this small enough, convenient enough, cheap enough that it actually leads to any kind of adoption beyond the enthusiast level. I think Sony's strategy for VR is way better. Enthusiasts, and focus on that segment of the audience and focus on the fun rather than the ad potential, which is ultimately the only reason Facebook wants it is the ad potential. They don't give a crap about games. When has Facebook ever given a single solitary crap about any serious games except Farmville? They don't give a crap about that stuff. They only care about ads, and that's why the platform will fail, because they don't actually like any of that stuff. Oh well. There's no tech company I want to see fail more than Facebook.
See, this is what happens.
I kind of think.
I was gonna say, this is what happens when we have topics that have to deal with Facebook. Is it that Jez goes on these long rants about how Facebook should die, and how Zuckerberg is awful, and how Meta's the worst, and how
he's evil.
And I'm just sitting
he's
here.
Actually, literally evil.
I wish you guys could see my face, because I was just sitting here, just listening to this. Like, okay, like I don't even have to say anything because Jez says it all.
He's a psycho. Have you seen what he looks like?
Yes, I've seen.
He doesn't blink.
Let me get a couple of these super chats, and we'll get back to the discussion. Don Otaku says, "I'm late, but you don't need nostalgia to play Nintendo games, especially ones like Breath of the Wild, which are generation-defining games."
Nintendo make very good games.
Yeah, I just not very interested in playing Breath of the Wild, but maybe one day. I do actually own that game. I just never played it. Akbar says, "Imagine Microsoft was allowed to sneak in a small indie studio in 2022. Which one should they get so that they can help it grow? My vote goes to Team Cherry. Team Cherry would be amazing, but they make Hollow Knight, and they're going to make Hollow Knight Silk Song. However, they take forever to make their games. And Xbox, I don't know if they need more teams that make forever to come out.
But Rand, part of me thinks that's just the way things are now. Part of me thinks that's just the way things are going to go.
Team Cherry's also
like
very,
games are
very
going to
small
take forever
team,
to make.
You know. Maybe Microsoft. I don't know. We'll see who Microsoft will focus on after Activision Blizzard. But the reason I wanted to talk about this Meta raising the price $100, which had people shocked, was, I don't know if you saw it today, but in Sony's financial call, they refused to talk about whether or not they would raise the price of the PS5, Jez.
Ooh,
because they said during its first quarter earnings call on Friday, Sony was asked whether it was considering increasing the PS5 price point in face of similar market pressures. And they said, quote, "About a potential price increase for the PS5, at this point in time, there is nothing specific I can share with you about prices," came the response from Executive Deputy President, Chief Financial Officer Hiroshi Toki. Because people have been speculating that products that rely heavily on semiconductors are going to become way more expensive as chip makers increase their prices, and the companies that buy them in turn pass on the cost to consumers. So maybe that's one of the reasons why Meta raised the price to $100, because the cost to them to make it went up, and that there is still really good demand for the Quest 2, so they feel, all right, we can raise it $100. Could something similar happen to essentially the PlayStation 5?
It's definitely interesting.
Or the Series X or S. But here's the other thing, though, Jez. Now, people may correct me in chat, but I think currently, I think they've already raised the price of the PS5, and people just haven't really noticed. Because you can't buy a PS5 without Horizon Forbidden West. It's bundled with the system for $550. So, like, they've raised the price. Now,
Is that a stealth raise?
I'm not 100% sure.
Xbox does that too with the bundles, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can't just buy a PS5 or a PS5 Digital Edition for $500 and $400. Like, I think the only ones that are available to buy are the ones that come with Horizon Forbidden West for $550. I could be wrong on that. And if I'm wrong, then retract all this. But because anytime I look, I only see the bundles for Horizon Forbidden West being available. So I'm not really sure. Pushing Polygon says he was able to buy one from the PS Direct. So I guess the regular versions are available, which I guess throws my theory out of the window because I thought that the only ones that were available were the bundled versions for $550, which would mean they already kind of raised the price, even though Horizon's bundled in, because like that's negligence cost to them because they own that studio and that game. But I guess that's not the case. So I don't know. That would be really weird if, I don't know, raising prices, but I mean, now we're about to come to a recession. People are already like, food costs more, all these things cost more, so
it's gas. It's gasoline, man. Like when I first came to Germany, traveling and I always take the same journey. I always get the same taxi from my house to the airport. When I first started making these journeys, it cost me 18 quid in taxis, which is about $22, $21, something like that. When I came to Germany this year, it cost me 40 quid, which is about $50. And that's like, what, 3-mile taxi journey or something? And you can't get Ubers anymore in my town, barely, because the price of gasoline is so much that it's not cost effective to be an Uber driver anymore. And all these things, gasoline is basically the lifeblood of the entire economy. It's the blood carrying around the little, red blood cells all around the world, whether it's like supply chain parts or, actual stock of SKUs going to the different retail outlets and stuff like that. So the fact that gasoline is so much more expensive now, thanks to Mr. What's his face, Vlad, and his cabal of psychopaths. That is sadly the state of the world right now, and what you can't really do anything about that, So maybe you're right. Maybe we are going to start seeing the price of anything with semiconductors in it go up, because there's all the whole chip shortage as well. Because during the pandemic, everyone suddenly wanted to work from home. Supplies for semiconductors couldn't meet demand, and the consoles aren't meeting demand either. So it's simple economics, really. Supply and demand, prices go up. If the demand outstrips the supply, the price goes up usually. But where Sony and Xbox is concerned, they operate very sort of community fan facing businesses, whereas like everyone kind of expects Meta to be evil. But if Sony and Microsoft put their prices up, or Nintendo, that'd be an unprecedented move.
That'd be shocking.
It'd be interesting to see the way people.
That'd be shocking if you woke up one day and the PS5 went from 500 to 600, or 400 to 500. That would be shocking. Because I remember, when we were talking about the pricing war in 2020. What was Xbox going to price the Series X at and the Series S at when it was Lockhart versus Anaconda? I still remember when people thought Lockhart didn't exist. Remember that, Jez? Remember when people thought it wasn't real? No one believed. And nobody knew, PlayStation was going to do a digital edition. But there was this whole debate about, hey, what was the price of these consoles going to be? And then it was like, Series X is more powerful. Does that mean the PS5 has to be cheaper? Because some people were saying that, like, the Series X is going to be, games are going to be so much better on it, which really hasn't proven to be true. But people were like, it's going to be $500 for Series X and $400 for the PS5. And there was this whole debate about what the pricing was going to be, and people thought like Lockhart was going to be $400 because there's no way they could sell for $300. And now there's discussion about whether or not they're going to raise the prices more, which is very interesting and makes me wonder if they could they do it? Like, the PS5 is selling pretty damn well at the current price point it's at. Like, comes out, sells out, similar to the Series X, right? If you raise that $100 on both models, let's just say hypothetically, so 604, what, 600 and four
Well,
hundred?
Rand,
Like, would they sell? Would they? Or
we
maybe
have
only
evidence.
go up by 50.
We
Maybe
have
just raise it by 50. I don't know. Interesting.
We have evidence they'll sell because of scalpers. Scalpers have been selling them at a premium since they came out, and they still sell at a premium price. So we pretty much have evidence that they will sell at the higher price. And Sony, Microsoft probably kicking themselves like we should have, priced these higher.
Price these at
from the
600.
outset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think they're probably thinking that right now. They should have priced them higher. So maybe you're right, Rand. We're all laughing at Meta now. Like, Meta raising the price of their headset by $100, that's hilarious. Maybe they're just the first, maybe that is just going to happen across the industry. It's very interesting, I mean, on the one hand, Meta doesn't have Fortnite, so the fact Meta doesn't have Fortnite and its microtransactions is obviously a reason why their margins are probably terrible on that whole business. Microsoft and Sony do have Fortnite, and they do have Warzone, and they do have metaverses, which, by the way, I've already spent a ton of money in metaverses. I'm part of the problem. I just bought a skin for Harley Quinn, from Batman animated TV series.
Wow.
I couldn't have that modern Harley Quinn skin, the from the movies. No, it's got to be Batman animated series, man. But But still, they could put their prices up, because maybe that's a way they sort of try and offset some of the losses, because both Sony and Microsoft posted some form of loss in their different forms of losses, but it was a mixed bag economically for both.
Yeah,
Sony and Microsoft.
They both posted it. It's funny because Microsoft posted theirs on Tuesday, and it was basically hardware revenue decreased 11%. Content and services revenue fell 6%, driven by lower engagement hours of monetization in third-party and first-party, partially offset by growth in Game Pass subscriptions. So people were zeroing in on the decrease, right? And, they're having a laugh about that. And then Sony comes in with, decrease as well. 30% decrease in profit, which was kind of eye-opening. But, they didn't have a great quarter. But Xbox's fiscal year closed, and according to the revenue, it basically had its best fiscal year in the history of Xbox. Making something like a little bit over $16 billion or $16.2 billion, which would be the most ever. Which is crazy because there's still people out there that say like it's all gonna get shut down, Game Pass is losing money, etc., etc. Like if you see the charts from when like Phil took over, and then like when he took over in the executive board, it's like the numbers are just like it just goes up, and then they're gonna add Activision Blizzard next year probably, and that's gonna be more revenue, right? But then
Candy Crush, man.
But then we got
Candy
even.
Crush.
Satya said a couple interesting things during the call. He said that Xbox has been the market leader in North America for 3 quarters in a row among next-gen consoles. So specifically talking about PS5 versus Xbox. 3 quarters in a row, which means... So what would that be? October, November, December from last year, January, February, March of this year, and April, May, and June.
Does that contradict the MPD?
I don't think it does.
Or are they talking revenue in general, like including Fortnite and all that stuff?
I'm not sure if they're talking. I'm not sure if they're talking.
No, they wouldn't be, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
How would they know exactly They wouldn't know the breakdown of who's playing on PS5 and who isn't.
Well, I think they're talking strictly just like either sales or revenue. I don't know which one, but that's what Satya said. And they also mentioned the Fortnite iOS thing, which I thought was interesting because they said 4 million people had played Fortnite through Xbox cloud gaming, when they made that big thing about
That's
it being free. Right? And 1 million of those 4 million were new to the Xbox ecosystem.
That's kind of amazing.
Which is, what is that? 25% of the people that tried it had never been in the Xbox ecosystem. That's
I
pretty good.
actually have Microsoft. I was speaking to someone at Microsoft, and they actually have a special abbreviation for people who are new to Xbox. I think they call it NTX or something,
NTX.
or something like that. Yeah, it's like it's one of their KPIs, key performance indicator, which is a business term. I'm something of a businessman myself, Rand.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, new to Xbox is like a huge, huge, KPI, key performance indicator for Xbox, and it's something they're very heavily invested in, like exploring ways they can get people who are completely new to the ecosystem into the Xbox ecosystem, because those people will then go on and evangelize the platform to their friends and family, and they'll become new to Xbox as well, and ultimately they're the next generation of gamers, and and they're a very important demographic. Capturing those younger gamers and bringing them into your platform and making them like think of Xbox as their home. Similarly to how we were talking about earlier, how you hate Nintendo and you have a pathological rage whenever you see a red hat with a Mario logo on it. People they're hoping that people will feel similarly about loving Xbox and not wanting to game on other systems and just thinking of Xbox as their gaming home, the place where they feel the most comfortable and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like despite the recession, and we are pretty much in a recession at this point globally, I saw America's GDP decreased 2 quarters a row, which is typically what is regarded as a recession in fiscal communities. I'm sure Britain will be following close behind, because if there's one thing Britain loves to do, is that we love to copy America. Whenever America's doing something stupid, Britain likes to do it as well. Whenever America has a recession, Britain likes to have one as well. And that's just the way we do things in Britain. We love you guys, Rand. We literally love America so much. We just want to copy everything America does. So yeah, it's going to be tough, I think. Well, and it's triggered by a perfect storm of the pandemic screwing up supply chains, China's zero COVID policy, which means their policy is that there can't be any COVID anywhere at any time. So the moment anyone in China has a cough, the entire town gets locked down, which obviously screws up all kinds of businesses and factories and supply chains and all that kind of stuff. And also the war in Ukraine, which has had a dramatic effect on lots of key supply chains, including things like grain, food, and neon gas, which is important for semiconductor construction. It's a mess. The whole world is a complete mess right now. And we're kind of lucky to be in the West, because we're not going to see some of the crazy stuff that's going to go on in the third world, like grain shipments not getting out, which leads to famine. We're not in the middle of a war zone right now, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there are people listening to the show, because we do have a global audience, who are affected by some of this stuff far more than others, which kind of puts it into perspective. Like when we're sitting there complaining about games being slow to ship and stuff like that, the entire world economy is in a bit of a mess right now, and some people are going to be negatively impacted more than others. But it's a mess out there, Ran. It's a mess.
It sure is. It sure
I'm
is.
just glad that we've got anything to play right now, and we've got anything to sort of take the edge off and try and escape for a few hours. And
hey, we try to do that here on the podcast for the people. Georgie says that MPD is U.S. only. It doesn't include Canada or Mexico, is what George says. So maybe that ties into what Satya said about doesn't necessarily need to, conflict with MPD if they're talking about North America, right?
Oh, Canada and
Mexico, yeah.
And Mexico and Canada, yeah, because Xbox is pretty big in Mexico, right?
Flash Gordon says,
it would be with Forza.
No games this year. Best in Xbox, let that sink in. I mean, that's kind of what I said previously. Like, Xbox is doing pretty damn well, and they're not even firing on full cylinders. Although, for this fiscal year, it would include Halo and Forza Horizon 5 and Psychonauts 2, because those came out last year, but during the current fiscal year. And this past April, May, and June was like the second best ever April, May, and June, and they didn't have any games. So, yeah, I mean, you explain it like they don't really have anything first party wise. They're still selling better than they ever have before. Like revenue is best it's ever been. They talk about Game Pass still growing. In fact, I think they mentioned they expect it like next quarter to be down, but then offset by the growth in like Game Pass growth or something. So they're expecting Game Pass to grow next quarter. So yeah, I mean, it's imagine if they actually had games. Imagine if it's like Starfield, well then that wouldn't have count. But like if they actually had games that were like big, you include that on time. And then eventually when they have like Modern Warfare 2 would be included in their books, and the Activision Blizzard stuff, Overwatch 2. Yeah, I mean it's how do you explain it? Is Game Pass the killer exclusive? Are people buying Xboxes?
I think it's a combination of.
Is it the Series S? I mean, you mentioned you're getting the recession, right? If you're getting into the recession and people are spending more, because it looks like that bump, and we can see it from the financials here, the bump that these companies experienced with the pandemic, where everybody was home spending money on these things, that's over with for all these companies. The pandemic bump is over. I did, when I was looking at the PlayStation thing, I don't know. They said that their monthly active users either declined or stayed stagnant. Like they increased like 1 million, like they went up to like 47 million PlayStation Plus, but their monthly active users I think decreased or something like that. So
yeah, like you have to remember, pretty much all offices are open now, and like there's no like work from home anymore. A lot of like even in our company, like we've ended like work from home policies. Like I've got permanent work from home in my contract though, but some of my colleagues don't. So like people who if you didn't have to commute. And this isn't me saying, by the way, that people were playing games instead of working while working from home. Not at all. But like, imagine if you've got an hour-long commute because you don't live in central London or something. So you commute for an hour on the train. If you're working from home, that's like basically an extra 2 hours worth of gaming you could be doing, right? And like times that by 1 million people, and that's like a lot of extra gaming hours potentially. I know, like if I was still working in an office and I got to cut out my daily commute, then I definitely use that extra time for playing games. So there's that whole aspect of it as well. And we've seen it on Windows Central, like during the first 6 months of the pandemic, it was like a renaissance for online businesses. Like YouTubers saw record growth, Twitch saw record growth, websites like Windows Central, we saw record growth. In fact, Windows Central was one of the only websites in the whole network that still saw growth despite the pandemic basically ending. Well, the pandemic's technically not over, but it's basically over, let's be honest. When I traveled from England to Germany, there's not very many people wearing a mask anymore. And what gets me around about mask wearing? When in the UK now, there's no mask mandate. You don't have to wear a mask anywhere. It's fine. There's no mask mandates for anything. But I still sometimes see people wearing a mask, but they wear it below the nose. So like, what if you're not wearing it? If you don't have to wear one, but you want to wear one, that's your choice. But why then wouldn't you wear it properly? I don't get it. Oh well, but I don't know. But yeah, it's all fun and games in the world of recession land. But I remember the last recession round, the last major recession, which is affectionately known by some as the credit crunch. You remember the credit crunch round?
Yes.
As we called it. Gordon Brown was prime minister, the most boring prime minister Britain's ever had, at least in my lifetime. And there was a credit crunch, and it was all sort of like, I couldn't find a job. There was no jobs. Unemployment was really high. But I remember back then, they described gaming as recession-proof back then. they described it as recession-proof, and because even with recession, people still want to spend money on entertainment, because they want to escape from the effects of said recession. And I do remember those headlines that gaming was recession-proof, and that despite lots of other industries seeing downturn, that gaming still continued to grow. But this is a very different kind of recession, because this is driven by supply chains. This is driven by there not being enough chips to meet demand, and that like a lot of the growth that Sony and Microsoft could be having could be in the hardware section, given that they can't, supply and demand, they can't meet the demand with their lack of supply. By rights, in most other businesses, oil, grain, food, when that happens, prices go up, right? So, because Microsoft Sony is such a fan-facing businesses, it's be interesting to see if they actually do it. Very interesting. It's going to be an interesting year, I guess. Economically speaking.
Yeah,
I wish it wasn't interesting. I wish the world was just normal.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was normal too, but it's interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out. But also, Xbox startup is 4 seconds faster. Huge news, Jez. Xbox faster than ever.
4 seconds faster.
The boot up.
That's really actually awesome. You know why that's awesome for me, Rand?
Because you don't want
to. Because I don't use my Xbox in energy in standby mode.
Okay.
I use it in energy saving mode all the time, because I don't have air conditioning.
Mm.
And when the Xbox is in standby mode, it's a very passive 55 degrees Celsius on surface temperature, which is about, I don't know, a lot of Fahrenheits. It's a hot boy, even in standby mode when it's not doing anything. So I've always had it in energy saving mode, because especially in the summer, because actually I leave it on in the winter actually, because it's like a nice little radiator. Keeps the room warm. But in the summer, hell no, I'm not going to put that on that in standby mode. So as someone who does keep it in energy saving mode, the startup time is amazing now. It's like I'm on the skip ahead ring. I've got the Discord stuff. Did we talk about Discord last week?
We did talk about Discord, but I haven't actually been able to actually try it. So
yeah, it's
me and you should get an Xbox and see what it's like. What it sounds like. Yeah, that was the big thing that people were talking about the 4 seconds shave, is that you can now have an energy saving mode, and it would come back as
for the environment.
Yeah, it was come back as quick as it would be if you had it in standby, and you would save money on your electric bill, and it's better for the environment and stuff. So 4 seconds,
Yeah.
I mean, these thing boots up fast regardless. I don't know about you guys, but do you remember when the 360, when a game would crash? Like nowadays, when a game crashes, you can still you're at the dashboard. Like when a game crashed on the 360, you had to get up and turn your system off, or sometimes unplug it if it was stuck, and then you had to sit through all the loading, and you'd be like, "Come on." Now, on the rare occasion where I get a full system crash, which it's happened maybe a handful of times, it doesn't matter, because you're back to the dashboard so quickly, because that initial load time is so fast. I'd be in parties and someone would be like, I gotta reboot my system or whatever. And then they're back within 2 seconds. When before in the 360, it would essentially take forever, literally forever. Sonic Chief knows what I'm talking about. He says, "Bro, that was the worst." Indeed, it was. So,
yeah.
Blake says 4 seconds impresses the wife. Yeah, 1 pump, you're done. 4 seconds. Yeah.
Oh man, it's Project Moorcock coming back in the chat.
Oh jeez.
Oh man. Yeah. Sometimes you take a lot of this stuff for granted, like the how fast things boot up now, and the way the graphics are and stuff, and how sharp picture quality is. I almost want to dig my Xbox 360 out of storage and just try it out and remember how far we've come, because when things are get incrementally better, you don't realize how much better things are with the SSDs and and all that kind of stuff. Thank God we're on SSDs. I used a computer with a mechanical hard drive the other day for the first time in literally years. I was like, my God, why is this so slow? Why is it taking like so long to boot up? Like my Razer Blade boots up in like seconds, and this thing was taking minutes. And I was just like, and then I heard that clicking. I heard that clicking, Rand. That sort of hard drive click, 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 click. You know, I'm like, oh God, that's why. That's what it used to be like. Man, we're living in a cool time technologically, even if it's a pretty dire time in some of the ways.
Yeah. What else we got here? Oh, Black Panther. Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
Talking about Black Panther. He said this on one of his morning shows, I believe, at Giant Bomb. That a Black Panther game is in early development at EA from a new studio, from people who kind of made like the Monolith, the Shadow of War games.
All right.
So how do you feel about this? I know you love your superheroes.
I haven't seen Black Panther.
I know you love your superheroes.
Dude, you know what? After moaning about superheroes, I'm kind of on a superhero kick right now.
Really?
Yeah, because I saw the trailer for Sandman, for the Netflix show for Sandman. And for a million years, my dad has been trying to get me to read the Sandman books since I was a little kid. Although it's probably not the most appropriate book for a child. I'll say that. My parents are a bit eclectic like that. Anyway, I've been meaning to read this book for a million years, and because of I saw the Netflix show and the trailer, and it looked really good. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm finally gonna read the Sandman. So I've been reading the Sandman comics finally, and they're just incredible. They're absolutely amazing. It kind of made me like, and then coupled with multiverses, right? We've seen Batman, Superman, and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of put me on a superhero kick. So you know what me and my girlfriend did the other night when I was first back?
What?
We watched the first Iron Man movie.
Ooh.
I'm finally gonna watch the MCU.
You're gonna watch all of them?
The whole thing.
That's a lot of movies,
I'm gonna watch
bro.
all of them.
Whoa.
Yeah, it is. Well, I've started. I watched Iron Man 1, and I've seen Iron Man 1 before. It's a very good movie, you know. But I watched it again to recap. And next we're gonna watch Iron Man 2, and we're gonna watch the next one.
Well, you gotta go in order. You can't go
Iron
Man. Right? You can't go Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3. You can't do that.
No, but it wasn't Iron Man 2 was the second one, wasn't it?
No,
chronologically. No,
I don't think so.
That's the order it's in on Disney.
Well, no, there's
Disney
definitely.
Plus.
Maybe I'm wrong. I want to say like
will know. Someone in chat will know.
Wasn't one of the Thor movies before? Maybe it was. Maybe it was Iron Man and Iron Man 2. Maybe it really was. I don't remember. Wasn't there a Hulk movie in there? I don't know. Let me go to Google.
Hulk's third, man, on the list. Oh, 5-star says Hulk is first. But dude, I swear down, right? On Disney Plus, it's Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and then Hulk.
Okay.
And then something else.
It's Iron Man, and then the Incredible Hulk, then Iron Man 2, then Thor, then Captain America, then Avengers, then Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch all of them, man. I'm gonna watch all of them.
So you're gonna watch Incredible Hulk next.
Yeah, I go. Oh, is that next?
Yeah.
After Iron Man 1. Okay. Well, we'll watch Hulk next. But yeah, but you know, as you know, I haven't really. I like DC. I like DC. Batman animated TV series and Batman Beyond, 2 of my favorite shows ever. You know, I love those shows, and I like the Batman films. But I have never seen Black Panther, and I haven't really seen MCU beyond. I did watch the first Avengers movie in the cinema, but I was on a wicked calm down, and I don't remember any of it. So yeah, I'm gonna go through and watch all of them again. But are you people like Black Panther, right? People say it's a good movie.
People love Black Panther.
Are you?
Yes, it's a very.
Are you excited
movie.
for this game? But this is the we're talking about.
I mean, yeah. Like a Black Panther game, well done, would be a great game. That's just a lot of people are like looking at it like EA's making it, and they don't trust EA, right?
That's how I'm looking at it, baby.
There's also some whether or not you're actually playing as T'Challa or whether or not it's like your own Black Panther. I'm not really sure about that, but a Black Panther game done correctly, I think, would be pretty damn good.
What's his power?
He's like a melee character.
Super strength and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a suit that protects him for a lot of damage. Melee, he absorbs damage and then like kind of sends it out as its own like shockwave. Uses like abilities, kind of like Batman. He's got little tech gadgets he can use as well. So I'm imagining like an open world type of game. Who would actually make is the Rocksteady, like the Batman combat, but on another level, because Black Panther obviously he's actual superhero and Batman's just a ninja. Kind of that visceral melee combat that you could pull off super quick. They'd probably be able to make a great Black Panther game. But I'm not surprised the Black Panther game's in development, because as we've talked about before, Disney is handing out licenses to anybody that wants one, it seems, for any of their properties, instead of just what they were doing with Star Wars with just only EA. They basically blew that up and like, everybody can make Star Wars games and everybody can make Marvel games. And Black Panther is one of the most beloved characters in the Marvel universe. Black Panther movie is one of the highest grossing movies ever. This one broke all sort of like records for trailer views in 24 hours. The movie's probably gonna make a boatload of money too. So yeah, I'm not surprised there's a Black Panther game in development. Seemed like a no-brainer. It's just and yeah, I mean, like, I could seeing that, like, the Shadow of Mordor guys, Shadow of War guys, I could see that sort, like, yeah, when I think of Shadow of Mordor and how that game played and the open world and stuff like that, yeah, I could see them doing a Black Panther game justice. I think it could be good. That's what people want. They want a good game. They don't want it to be shit, right? Because that's what people were worried, that the Black Panther movie was going to be shit. But it wasn't. It was great. But then there's the flip side to all this, right? Lucasfilm, Disney's out here letting anybody make games. And then we heard about what happened with KOTOR, right?
Oh yeah, KOTOR.
So it's like you got Black Panther, and we all hope it's going to be great. Hopefully they can do that game justice. But then on the flip side, if you're letting anybody make your games, sometimes you might hand a game to a studio that maybe bit off more than they can chew, or maybe they weren't primed for the big time. So what are you gonna say?
I was very skeptical about Asper taking on a full-blown BioWare RPG. I was pretty skeptical of that, which is why I wasn't really. KOTOR was one of my favorite games of all time, but I wasn't even slightly salty about that being PlayStation exclusive, because I just sort of wasn't convinced Asper was the right people to do it. And even though I did enjoy the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it left a sour taste, as you all know. And there's the way they manhandled the story a bit at the end. It's fine. It's not like the original's gone anywhere. I can still play that. But I was kind of in the same mindset about KOTOR. Like, it would have had to have been perfect, and I just didn't think Asper could make a perfect BioWare RPG. I would love to have been proven wrong, and maybe I will be proven wrong. But what was the news that came out this week? It's indefinitely delayed.
Well, yeah,
definitely delayed.
Indefinitely delayed. It's actually on pause. So Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg put this out, and he basically said that last month Asper took like a vertical slice, showing off to their partners at Sony and Lucasfilm. And according to some of the employees thought they had a really good demo, and that when they initially started production all those years ago, that they were targeting 2022 as a release date. But what happened was a week after they showed off this demo to Lucasfilm and Sony, the design director and the art director were fired from the game, and that the project was put on hold, and that the studio was looking for other games and other projects to make in the meantime. There's like a possibility that like Saber might take over the game, and that and some of the developers are saying like a more realistic timetable for the game now is potentially like 2025, which you go from like 2022 to 2025. I mean, so when I saw this, I thought to myself, how bad must that game have been, or the demo that they showed to Sony and Lucasfilm, where they're like, no, like, could you, like, imagine you're a developer at Asper and you think you have something really good, and you're pumped to show it off, and you show it off to Daddy Lucasfilm, right? Because that's who would have to approve it because they're the license holder, and then you show it off to them and they just hate it so much so that the next week 2 of your directors you have to fire. And you have to put the project on complete hold, and then look for other work to support this. Like, Lucasfilm and Sony must have hated whatever they saw, right? That's the only explanation, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's to fire both, high up. They're not trivial positions. The design director. It must have been in a bad shape. But the fact that it's on hold and not cancelled, it sounds like they really want to do it justice. So that actually makes me more optimistic for it. The fact that they put it on hold rather than just cancel it, and they're like, yeah, if we're going to do this, we need to do it properly. So I'm actually a little bit more optimistic now than I was before.
There's a possibility Saber might actually complete it. But yeah, there's some people are like, but then there's the other side of this that Mr. Matty Plays had reported that Xbox had the chance to get exclusivity, and we know from other conversations, I'm not exactly sure where, but it did come out that, remember, Xbox had passed on Marvel games, right? They passed on Spider-Man, and then they also had passed on KOTOR. So a lot of people are be like, oh, Xbox dodged a bullet on this one, right? Which...
I think Microsoft probably just like that. They're not the right studio to make this game.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Time will tell, right?
I don't know what Xbox would have said when they saw it or whatever, but I will say, I was thinking about this. Now, let's imagine a multiverse, a different timeline where Xbox actually, instead of this game being timed exclusive to the PlayStation 5, it was actually timed exclusive to Xbox, right? And people were hyping up KOTOR, just like they hype up all these Starfield, fans hype up every game. So they're hyping up these games. We got KOTOR, we got Perfect Dark, we got, people are hyping it up. And we know the perception that Xbox has recently is that they have managerial problems. People talk about what's going on at 343, talk about what's going on at Perfect Dark and the Initiative, and what's going on at Undead Labs and State of Decay 3. There's still that nagging talking point that Xbox doesn't know what they're doing, that Matt and Phil are in over their heads, that they're mismanaging their studios, right? That's still a talking point that is going around. And it won't go away really until Xbox starts releasing games on a regular cadence and the games are good, right? I think we've agreed on that. There's a part of me that feels like if KOTOR was an Xbox exclusive made by Asper and this news came out, people would just be blaming Xbox. Once again, probably. Xbox doesn't know how to manage any of their things. Of course, KOTOR is mismanaged. Yeah, you're expecting it now. Now it's 2025. Point, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's talking about it like anything's going wrong with Sony, right? That like they showed the demo off, they didn't like it, now the game's paused, and who knows if it ever comes out. But if it was the other side and it was an Xbox game, right? Even though it's not first party, it was just we're paying for exclusivity. If somehow that game was like, if that happened and it was delayed for 3 years or whatever, like they're saying in this article, and maybe never coming out or paused, the talking point would be, oh, another example of Xbox not knowing how to do anything. Am I wrong on that for thinking that would be the case?
No, I think you're right. I think people would be saying that, you know?
Right, yeah.
But
I mean,
it is what it is.
yeah. I don't know. I just was thinking, it's like that would be the talking. It wouldn't be that Asper was the wrong. People would be like, Xbox chose the wrong studio. This is another one of Phil's problems where they need to get him out of there. They don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just.
That's funny.
Chinokai says EA
right.
loses the license, is still the only one making Star Wars for a while. Isn't that a cowinky dink? Yeah, well, I think the license expires at the end of this year, or maybe it's sometime next year. But yeah,
I don't think EA can do it. I'm waiting for EA to actually prove to me that they're still a studio that makes some things that aren't FIFA. You know, what has EA even released lately? They released Battlefield. What have they released this year? Anything?
EA has Roller Champions. Oh wait, no, that's Ubisoft.
No, that's Ubisoft. They're making Skate free to play. They're doing Dead Space Cash Grab,
which is next year. I mean, they're gonna have the Madden, FIFA, NHL this year. Have they released anything? Because it looks like Star Wars Jedi Survivor is like March of next year, according to like PlayStation database. Yeah, I don't know. Has EA released anything this year? Because Mass Effect was last year, right?
Yeah. And that was a remake or re-release.
Yeah. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button. Yeah, Madden. I mean, they're releasing Madden, but Madden's not out yet. Jez was saying, like, have they released anything yet? I mean, Need for Speed's supposed to be at the end of the year. I don't think they've released anything. Has Ubisoft released anything? Well, Roller Champions was this year. That was what like Sony and Xbox kind of blame for their downturn was third-party content. You saw that, right? Third-party content, including like microtransactions. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. You rely on that stuff, and when nobody's releasing any games, not a lot of money to bring in. You can't that 30%. You know, take a 30% on every game release, but you can't do that if they're not releasing anything new. So
that's true.
Man, I like KOTOR a lot as well. And I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite games of all time, but it is one of the few games I got an original Xbox for. And I would love to see it done properly. Like you, I was just concerned with Asper because they're just a port studio. They did nothing but like little dinky Star Wars ports. This seemed like to be their big break. And, you know, I'm not against smaller studios getting their big break because that's how all studios like, you know, you get your start small, you get your big break. And remember what Rocksteady was before they made Batman Arkham Asylum, and they were like nothing, essentially.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
I
still think Batman Arkham Asylum's the best one, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong for thinking that. I mean, there's some days I would agree with you because it is a nice linear focused experience where like Arkham City and Arkham Knight are the big kind of open world bloated experience. So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they just weren't right for the project. You know, could Lucasfilm take the license back and give it to somebody else now? Because KOTOR is a big thing. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But one of the other big announcements was how GTA 6 has gone woke, Jez. I don't know if you saw any of this. It's gone woke.
I did see this.
They're gonna go broke. I even saw a couple of U.S. politicians talking about this. They said GTA 6 has gone woke, and now they'll go broke. Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
God.
People
What? US
crying.
politicians talking about video
People
games?
crying.
Don't they have more important things to think about? I don't know.
Bro,
That's
this is gonna
that's funny shit.
incite hate videos. People are gonna be hating on like this is like I don't know. Have you seen any of the like targeted hate towards like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power?
I have not. Thankfully,
Ooh.
I've pretty much blocked everyone who's prominently toxic on Twitter. I told you, I've got 10,000 people blocked. So I often don't see a lot of this kind of stuff that's out there. And I just can't be bothered with it. So you're gonna have to fill me in.
So I believe once again Jason Schreier from Bloomberg reported that Grand Theft Auto 6, I think he said maybe it was coming targeting fiscal year 2024. But basically it's set in Vice City, you know, fictionalized Miami. But the big thing is that it's going to have, I think, 2 co-leads or 2 main characters. And dun 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 dun, one of them has a vagina. And the internet went crazy. What? A main no, in Grand Theft Auto, you mean to tell me that the main character I'm gonna be playing him as gonna have boobies? This will not stand. I, as a hetero male with a neckbeard, am outraged that they're pushing diversity and women into my safe space of gaming.
And it's not even diversity, and it's the bare minimum. You know, have people not heard of Lara Croft? Have people not heard of Leia Skywalker? I don't know, man. Leia Organa, I should say, before any of the neckbeards get mad at me. I don't know, man. I'll tell you, there is something that worried me about this, and I have no issue with the female protagonist. In fact, I'm all for it. But that same article said they're going to change the tone. Now that does kind of worry me, because one of the things that really makes Grand Theft Auto great is its social commentary and the way it sort of, you know, satirizes life, you know. So, and I didn't read the full report, I admit, too busy, but I did read that I saw that there were some headlines that GTA will have a very different tone, and you know, which is rightfully perhaps led to some concerns from people who aren't just, you know, being incel about it. That maybe they'll take the teeth out of it. Maybe they'll reduce the controversy and stuff. Because to me, GTA is a game that kind of fit into the same sort of niche as South Park, you know, for me, where it satirized life. You know, the whole sort of larger than life sort of thing where they sort of take the piss out of everyone. No? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah,
So
they were gonna tone down the jokes on, you know, the marginalized groups, because basically, like, under Hauser's in the past, the Rockstar was like a frat club, right? But then they cleaned up the studio, and the studio doesn't really want to be like that anymore. So it's not going to be like how it used to be. But then people think that suddenly, like, Grand Theft Auto is going to be a game for kids.
That's what I would be. That's what I would be thinking. Like, are they going to try and be super, like, uncontroversial now? Is there going to be no sex in the game? You know, like Ballad of Gay Tony, for example. You literally see dude's dick in that DLC. Are they going to avoid all that stuff now? Are they going to try and make it more accessible and safe? Are they going to play it safe? Are they going to try and avoid any sort of sharp edges? Is it going to be a game about criminals that's no longer sort of, you know, morally gray? We're just going to have like heroes now and stuff like that. Is it going to pander? Is it going to pander? Is what sort of would be my concern. Just to play devil's advocate, because honestly, I don't really care either way. I don't really care about GTA. It's not really one of my favorite franchises ever. I like GTA, but if they cancelled it forever, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. But I always thought at least the humor in GTA was like pretty good, you know.
It's not even
But
official. It's not even officially announced either. Jayhawk says they made the female protagonist announcement on the same day so that commenters like Rand would paint everyone who complains as a sexist. They didn't even announce the female protagonist. Like Rockstar, all they have ever said is that they're working on Grand Theft Auto 6. They haven't even said there's a female protagonist in the game. Like, what do you, what do you mean?
I don't know. I'm just gonna ban that guy. But
No, you don't have
you know,
to. You don't have
it's,
to ban him.
no, I want to because that's incel speech, man. Like, not everything, not criticizing things doesn't automatically fall into a political dichotomy, and I hate that whole thing. Right? I just hate it. Why do people do that? It really, really bugs me. And then on last week's show, someone said me criticizing NFTs was leftist. What the fuck is political about fucking T's, man? What the fuck is political about that? You know, I just hate all this shit. Not everything is political, okay? Not everything has to be political. And I don't think a female character being in GTA is political. I think females exist, put them in games. And, you know, Aaron Hadley says, I actually like the Bonnie and Clyde route they're going. Bonnie and Clyde was awesome. And it's classic. And it was happened like a million years ago. So, you know, the whole idea that it's automatically going to be terrible and that there's automatically things to be outraged about, that is just projecting. You are projecting. You are far too deep in the culture wars to be objective about even having a discussion about this, you know. So while I think it's fair to have some concern that they will take the teeth out of it to pander to, you know, today's very sort of soft discussions about the media, you know, where everything has to be sanitized, and big publishers and big movie companies are increasingly worried about doing anything that has any sort of teeth because they are worried about being criticized. I think that is a completely valid discussion to have. But at the same time, just because there's a woman in it, there's nothing political about that. Nothing political, and there's nothing pandering about there being a woman in a game. You're just literally on the outrage train because you spend too much time on the internet. There's nothing controversial about a female character in a game. And not only is there nothing controversial about a female character in a game, there's even less controversy because it's a co-character, for God's sake. It's not even like it's the only protagonist. There's going to be 2 protagonists. And last time I saw, there were 3 protagonists in the last GTA. And they were all awesome in their own way, but also all very different. What fuck this matter does it have that, you know, what genitals they've got? Fuck me. It's just so dumb to have as a conversation.
It's funny because after Grand Theft Auto 5, Dan Houser's, who no longer works there, but it was the, you know, the studio, like the lead on those games, his visions, basically said, you know, because Grand Theft Auto's always kind of been a satire of America, right? But he basically said, like
he's not even
American life is, you can't satirize American life anymore. It's become a satire of itself already. So it's like, I don't even know if he kind of implied he didn't even want to make another one because where do you go? Because American life has become like, you know, like a joke unto itself. Like, I don't know. Yeah. You see, I know some people were upset with like the you know, them not wanting to punch down, but I definitely saw some people being upset that it was a female protagonist. So it's kind of like Lord of the Rings of Power, where there's people that are upset that they might be changing the lore, and then other people are upset because there are colored people in it, when like Tolkien explicitly kind of wrote, like, you know, the elves are white, where in the show there's like a black elf, and they've expanded some roles for women, and there's people that do not like that. So they kind of get mushed together, like people that have legit criticisms about how they're changing things that Tolkien wrote, and they're like, well, you're not a better writer than Tolkien, what makes you think better? But then also you have the people that are just upset that there's people of color and more women in their, fantasy product. So you take Grand Theft Auto 6 and you got a female lead, combine that with the studio changing and not wanting to kind of make the same jokes as they used to, and some people are pissed about the female lead and some people are pissed about, the stuff with the jokes, and you just got this whole pot, you just stir it, and then they're gonna make a shit ton of money when it comes out. So
It's great for clickbait and outrage bait, that's for sure.
Jacqueline says, my fave boys, is this incoming gaming recession via VentureBeat incentive for these guys to buy more? I mean, we read earlier the thing from Microsoft's SEC filing where they basically said they're gonna invest more in new studios and IP and stuff, so it's just a matter of getting the Activision Blizzard deal done and then seeing what comes after that. Lucius says, I don't like them saying they don't want to punch down, because what does that mean? You aren't above anyone. As a minority, I'm not below anyone. Interesting.
Yeah. I that's the thing about some of these discussions, right? Like, I got friends who are, Latino, and like they've explained to me, like, because obviously I don't meet any Mexicans in Britain, as you might expect, or anyone from like Latin America, and that whole Latinx thing with the X on the end, because it's supposed to be the gender neutral way of saying it, like, and a lot of Latina people think that's dumb and stuff. Like, it's not for me to say, because I'm not. It's just not. It's so far away from like my culture and anything that I'm aware of. So I'd rather just listen. I'd rather just listen to what other people have to say about that stuff, because it's not my place to comment, really. I honestly don't know. Yeah, it's hard to have these kind of discussions, especially as a Brit. Yeah, like Achievement just said, don't call us Latinx, we hate it. Yeah, exactly. Most Latino people I've spoken to say that, don't call us Latinx, but I see it all the time on like major publications using that word. I don't get it. So like I just stay out of it because I'm British. I don't know any of this stuff. You can have some bean pictures. You can have some baked beans pictures. Check my Twitter. That's what I do. That's my culture. It's baked beans on toast.
Toadpack Shakur says, I think females exist. Jez dropping knowledge bombs today. And John G says, being John, I agree. I love seeing minorities in games are awesome, but I hate the snowflake convo. Reason why I love Chappelle. I love Chappelle too. I think he's really funny.
Yeah, I do like Dave Chappelle. I like Ricky Gervais as well. And Ricky Gervais is my favorite comedian.
Yo, what if Grand Theft Auto comes out and it just sucks, and we all just dunk on it because it sucks? That'd be the
I mean, maybe it'll just suck because it's not a good game, and it won't be anything to do with the story or the dialogue and stuff like that. Man,
that's what
you
I'm
see. Ricky
concerned
Gervais'
about.
new special on Netflix.
Because I think like a Bonnie and Clyde sort of two main characters, chick, Latina, and a dude. I think that could be cool.
Yeah,
but it has.
Awesome. Have you seen Natural Born Killers?
I have, yes.
I love that movie. That movie's amazing.
But we have to see what the game's like. Maybe they've lost their edge. Maybe Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out and it's just not the Grand Theft Auto we all remember. And maybe that is a result of the culture nowadays where you can't make fun of anybody. And maybe we'll all lament that loss. Be like, oh man, you remember when you played Grand Theft Auto 3 and 4 and listen to the radio stations and the jokes, and now you don't have that in this one and it's not as good because of it. Maybe we all lament that, but I don't know. Either way, I'll be there day one. I can't wait for it. It better have a single player. Well, we know it has a single player. It better have a substantial single player. like, as long as
I don't like
Grand
this
Theft
sort
Auto
of
5
like
was.
the thing that I don't like about the culture wars, right, is the way that people try and speak on behalf of their minority and sort of like, if I'm offended, then everyone has to be offended, right? Like Ricky Gervais he does shitloads of jokes about fat people, right? I'm a fat guy. At my highest weight, I was 430 pounds, but I'm not offended by fat jokes and actually think they're quite hilarious, And I'm still overweight. I'm like 330 pounds right now, which is, it's a lot less than I used to be. But hey, I'm not joining any Olympics competitions anytime soon. I don't even know what they're really called. Olympics competitions? That's not even a thing. I'm so fat, I don't even know what they call athletics and shit. So, so I don't I like those jokes, and I feel like, if we live in a world where nothing can be joked about anymore, I think the world loses something. I think things get slightly more boring. And I actually think jokes, as long as they're done tastefully and not in the spirit of being an asshole or a racist or anything like that, or discriminatory, I think they can actually bring people together. But that's just me. And like I say, I'm not going to comment about anything to do with race because, like I say, I have very little experience with that kind of stuff, and I often defer to American friends that I've got that can sort of put some of that stuff into context for me. But I can only speak for my minority, which is fat people, and yeah.
I don't know. I think
that we're a minority anymore.
I think we're just in
Most
that
people are fat now.
our society to where it's like someone's gonna get offended by the joke, and then someone's gonna be offended that they got offended by the joke, and
someone's offended that they're not offended.
Yeah, it's just
everyone's just constantly offended now. And the problem is, right? The problem with it is that some people who genuinely are racist, they use this to push their agenda. And some people who, they genuinely do just want to control what people think. They also use it to push their agenda from the other side. So if you're just a normal, reasonable person, you can't win because you end up pissing off both sides, the hard right and the hard left. You just can't win, So I just stay out of it, mate. Play some bloody video games. Let's just do that instead, eh? Let's just do that instead.
Chinook says, what does Microsoft mean when they say they are investing in new studios and new content creators? There's a lot to be taken from that. Jez, what does that mean?
Say that again, sorry?
What does it mean when Microsoft says that they are investing in new studios and new content creators?
It's interesting. I think it's hard. It's kind of vague. It's like that could mean they're gonna buy studios, or it could mean they're just gonna grow studios. It's interesting because on Twitter today, Rand, I noticed Wushu Studios. Have you heard of them? Wushu Studios.
Yes.
They tweeted out an image saying they're hiring, and in the image, they use state of decay graphics. So Wushu Studios is working on State of Decay, which is interesting, I guess, alongside Undead Labs. And so maybe that's the kind of stuff they mean, getting more people involved, whether they're third party, second party, support studios, just trying to make bigger and better games with more staff, investing in unique original content, which is what they should be bloody doing. If you're running a subscription service, that's what ultimately you need to do. Man, it's this whole thing with like Netflix and Netflix losing subscribers, and every industry out there seems to be struggling in some way or another. It's crazy out there, man. But Microsoft seems intent to try and buck the trend and keep pushing with it. So,
well,
I think that's ultimately what it means. They're just signaling they're going to keep investing in that space.
Yeah, that's
more
all
staff,
it really means.
More studios, more acquisitions, maybe, and all that good stuff.
Did you know that Phil's most anticipated game is God of War Ragnarok?
Yeah, I did see that. That upset some people as well.
Yeah.
See, everyone, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what community you're in. Someone wants to find something to be offended about. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Someone just perpetually wants to be offended. And the fact Phil said he's excited to play God of War, I think he's a completely non-issue. Like,
well, so a lot of websites
looks
use
like a
that.
good
A
game.
lot of use that as console war bait, right?
They did.
Because
Yeah.
recently Corey Balrog said he can't wait to play Starfield. Nobody wrote articles about that, you know.
No, they didn't.
But Phil Spencer says, "Hey, I'm anticipating God of War Ragnarok," and IGN and everybody's got articles up, like, and then they'll make snide comments like, "Well, you got no Xbox games this year, so it's got to be." Even though, like, Phil can literally go play any Xbox game right now if he wanted to, even like down to like the prototypes, you know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what? So Xbox did this thing where they, first game, last game, favorite game you play the most, game you want to play next, blah, 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 blah. Phil said his first game he played was Pong. His last game he played was Road 96. His favorite game is Robotron 2084.
I don't even know what that is.
Which is interesting.
What is that?
Robotron 2084 is like the precursor to like twin stick shooters, essentially. Where you're like a robot and you're like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Game you play the most right now.
I wouldn't know that because I'm not old like you and Phil.
Oh, please. It says game he plays the most. He put right now Forza Horizon Hot Wheels, but like we know the answer to that question is really Destiny 2, Phil. Who you fooling, right? Right? I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Game you want to play next, God of War. Game you want to play next, God of War Ragnarok. In first game, you show a caveman. And he says Lumines, perfect mix of mechanics, music, style, and replayability. And
I actually showed my girlfriend that as an example game for her to play. And my girlfriend's essentially a gaming caveman, so that scans.
My first game. Well, see, the first game I remember playing, like I had an Atari, but I don't remember anything about it. My first gaming memory that I can still think of is first time I played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the NES. The last game I played was Stray. Favorite game is like, is that means my favorite game of right now or my favorite game of all time? Like,
that was hard. I struggled with that.
Because I have a list of games that I love, but like, I don't know if I could really singularly narrow it down to like, this is my favorite game ever. I mean, God. I mean, the one I probably played the most is Halo 2. Simply because of the multiplayer. I mean, I played it every day for a year. You thought I played PUBG a lot. Like, 2004 and 5 was literally all just Halo 2. Non-stop. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite game, though. Like, I've played Final Fantasy VII like 5 times, 6 times.
So I almost put Final Fantasy VII in there, but it's also kind of like, man, I don't know. I think like the game that most made me feel the most feels when I really thought about it was Dragon Age Origins. It's one of the only games I've completed multiple times, every single way possible, with all the different tracks through it and stuff. So I ended up picking Dragon Age Origins as my favorite game, which is all the more depressing considering how badly EA has treated that franchise over the years. But that was a fun topic.
Like Mass Effect, like I don't even know, but the game I want to play next. I mean, I want to play Saints Row next. I'm a big Saints Row fan, but then I want to play Plague's Tale Requiem. I want to play Callisto Protocol. I mean, I guess you could say what's your most anticipated game the rest of the year? That'd be God of War, Ragnarok. I don't know what game I would show Cavemen though. I don't know.
I put The Evil Within.
Evil Within? Maybe like Mass Effect 2 or something. I don't know, but maybe like BioShock. I don't know. Dead Space 2. I don't know. It was a good little thing, but yeah, I don't understand how like this little tweet from Phil became such big news. Like, IGN made like custom graphics for it and shit. Like,
Yeah,
what are we
that's absolutely wild to
like?
me.
What are we doing here, man? Like, I mean, Phil's true gamer. I just don't get it. Like, whatever. Miami Magpie says has been a member for 7 months. Says first Super Mario 3, last Forza 5, most Football Manager, and favorite Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh,
See, that must be my
Warhammer
gear as well. Absolute banger.
Warhammer Darktide got delayed from
Yes,
September
it did.
to November 30th, but no release date for Xbox. They have a release date for the PC, but they said they have no information on when, or at least no, they don't know when the Xbox version is going to come now. So, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. They are a smaller studio, so kind of is what it is. But it just sort of it adds a sting because Xbox has struggled to get a lot of decent games out this year. So, like, it's another one of them. At this point, I'm kind of just like over it. I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna hit up my backlog until the games come out and just forget about it. And when they come out, then great. But I'm not gonna worry about it anymore because it just seems to be constantly happening now.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about it? And they're a smaller studio, right?
Fat Shark. I think they're the ones making it. I'm not sure about their size. It's just I don't know. It's just weird that you go from a solid release date, delay it, and then like PC versions coming, but then who knows when the Xbox version is coming, and a game that was supposed to be a console launch exclusive day one on Game Pass. It's just another game lost to the ether of 2023. But then, like, I don't know, because if that was like Sony would be like, you're not releasing the game on PC first. It's also coming on PlayStation. You know what I mean?
You gotta remember though, this is Xbox.
Yeah,
This is developer first Xbox, right?
I guess like, I think, is it also coming to PC Game Pass? I suppose, maybe.
Probably.
I don't know. It's just, I was looking forward to playing that because I like the Warhammer games. They're fun. Just, I mean, I guess maybe another game, or maybe it's coming out the following month. Maybe it comes out in December, or maybe they announce like closer to the release date. Oh, it's actually coming in November, but maybe it comes early 2023. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's everything. So, if you guys got some questions, make sure you put them in chat, and we will do our best to answer them. Thank you guys for being here so much on Friday. What is this?
You guys are awesome.
July 29th. A couple days left until August. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit going on this week, although not really much specifically Xbox besides 4-second boost and the financials, but a lot of other things surrounding it that are very interesting. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. And yeah, I don't know. What are you gonna do here when we end the show, Jez? What's your plans for the rest of the night or this weekend?
Go to bed. It's my aunt-in-law's 70th birthday tomorrow, so we're gonna go and eat some cake, I think. But for the rest of the weekend, I'm gonna get my RimWorld on, play some more RimWorld, build my colony, try and escape the planet, that kind of stuff, and probably play some more multiverses. I've been playing it the whole podcast.
Yeah, no, people
love it.
We can hear it. Yes,
you can hear it.
I mean,
really
we can always hear it when you do that stuff.
I need Microsoft to make a stealth controller. Like, I don't know, like an Elite controller.
Or you could just just give the chat and everybody here your full attention.
But I'm reading chat and I'm podcasting. I'm legitimately reading chat.
Yeah, I guess you don't really need that many brain cells to play Multiversus. I mean, Miles plays it, right?
Yeah. Oh man. Gary Sanchez says there are rumors the HoloLens project might get cancelled after 85% budget cut. Yeah, I think HoloLens is dead. I think it's dead. HoloLens was pretty much 100% Alex Kipman, and without Alex Kipman there as a sort of political force driving it, that whole HoloLens division just has no legs anymore. It's that's the end of it. I think they'll try and fulfill the contracts they've got, and then they'll kill it. That's the end of HoloLens.
Lydia says
Which is crazy.
Power Wash
Sorry,
Simulator
go on.
would make a great gameplay backdrop for the podcast. There you go, Jez. Record an hour of Power Wash and send it to me.
Owen, man, we promised the people
The Peppa Pig.
Pig.
We'll get Peppa.
and
We'll get.
You're
Peppa,
out here, man.
We'll get Peppa Pig on the podcast. I have the footage. One of these days you'll tune in and you'll see Peppa Pig leading off the show.
Man.
But we'll do that. We'll do that when there's actually stuff.
Special occasion.
Tune in, like not in the dead of August when there's, it's funny. We'll use it when the day Activision Blizzard closes, and there's 2,000 people listening to the show. We'll give them a taste of the Peppa Pig. Nah, I don't know. We'll definitely have it, but yeah, play some Power Wash and record some footage, bro. People want to see dirty things get clean.
You record some footage.
I have no
You
interest.
basically
I have
reuse
no
the same footage
interest.
all the time because you don't play any games.
It's not true. This is what game is
That's
this?
from that game's like from years ago.
That game's
That game came out like 5 years ago.
It's Annapurna, bro.
Annapurna, the most
Interactive.
overrated publisher ever. What?
Well, I didn't record As Dust Falls because I didn't want to ruin it for anybody, right? Because it's a story game.
That's fair.
I tried recording Stray, but my PlayStation crapped out on me and it wouldn't record it. So,
Well, how about this? Why don't you actually play some games
sure.
instead of reading books all day?
I mean, I actually haven't read a book in like a week and a half.
What the hell you been doing then? Because you haven't been playing any games.
I mean, you don't know that.
Well, you've been playing Stray, I guess. But you said it was 4 hours long.
4.5, yeah.
So what you've been playing then? PUBG? You've been on PUBG, haven't you?
They did put a new map in.
So you've been playing PUBG?
No, I haven't been playing PUBG.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Didn't PUBG start doing like concerts and stuff like Fortnite?
I'm not sure.
I think they did. I think they did some kind of concert in the mobile version, which is hilarious to me. They went from being like the most innovative to the most desperate. Kind of funny, right?
Aaron says I seen Jez retweeted Ed Boon's tweet. What's Ed Boon?
Yeah, Ed Boon tweeted. He quote tweeted Phil's tweet and they said, "I can't wait to play Street Fighter 6."
Oh. What else we got here? Jason says, "What's next? High on Life and Scorn delayed? Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I honestly think everything could be delayed right now.
Potentially.
I think screw it. Starfield could get delayed again. Everything could be delayed again and again. Forever.
Calorix says, "Hey Rand, don't you know if you heard the news? The head of IDO said he heard rumors of Sony buying Square Enix. Do you think he heard separate rumors or just speculation going around?" Yeah. The guy that left in 2013 said he had heard rumors that basically Sony didn't want the Western studios because they were a train wreck. And that Square Enix was like basically what I think it was what you had said in the podcast, Jazz, that they were basically selling those studios to make themselves look more attractive to Sony.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sony buys Square Enix down the road at some point.
Yeah, I think Sony's definitely going to buy Square Enix. I think they're figuring out the details now, raising cash. They've hired acquisition lawyers recently too. I think anyone who's a Xbox fan who really likes Square Enix, they're Japanese studios. Yeah.
I mean, how can any Xbox fan like those? They don't put their games on Xbox.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that's in the future. I think that is literally in Sony's future, is buying Square Enix Japanese teams. But who knows? Maybe Microsoft swoops in at last minute, you know.
Somehow I doubt that. I doubt that very much.
Yeah.
Ryan wants to know what our expectations are for Everwild. I really don't have any expectations for Everwild because I don't know what the game is. Let me know what the game is first before I've any. Like, yeah, the trailers look pretty, gorgeous, but I don't know what the game is. So I don't know what to expect. And Sea of Thieves isn't a game I enjoy, even though it's incredibly popular. So I really
You're
couldn't.
saying it's not your cup of tea?
Sea of Thieves is not my thing.
It's not your
my
cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect for Everwild. I need to see what it is first before I have any expectations for it. Same goes for you, Jez, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of too pretty and happy for me anyway. But maybe it'll prove me wrong. I don't know. I kind of like. I think they could. Have you heard of a game called V Rising?
Yes, I have.
I think they should look at that for figuring out the gameplay loop. Because V Rising, like for those that don't know, it's kind of like it's Diablo meets survival game, or base building game. You play as a vampire in V Rising, exclusive to PC right now, but I do believe it is coming to Xbox eventually. But you play as a vampire. You have to like drink blood and all that kind of stuff, and you have to like do the whole crafting thing. You have to upgrade your base, get better crafting skills, get armor. But it's also got this amazing Diablo-esque layer where there's bosses. You have to like make contracts to unlock the bosses and do rituals, and it's a very, very interesting gameplay loop. It sort of blurs the lines between like a game like Diablo and maybe a game like Grounded, almost. So I think like they could look at something like that, you know. Maybe not go full blown survival game, but something with like base building mechanics and maybe, you know, boss battles in a sort of fairy tale world instead of the vampire stuff. I think it could be cool, something like that. They did kind of hint at multiplayer because you know, we had like 4 characters on screen, right? So I do think they are going to go down that kind of route. But I think going something like Aaron says in chat, something like Ark. I think like if they went for isometric, kind of like V Rising or something more simplistic, I think they could get the content out there faster to make a service game. But I don't know. We just have no idea what that game is, and I'm not even sure Rare knows at this point. But or at least they didn't. We heard they were still trying to figure out the gameplay loop. That's the last thing we heard about the game.
I think they went on a hiring
I
spree
guess
for
we'll just have to wait and
Everwild.
see.
I don't know.
Yeah, they did. But they also lost the character artist for the game.
Maybe they know what it is now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Talis, I'm sure I heard V Rising was coming to console. Maybe I'm completely getting that wrong. But V Rising for Xbox. Is V Rising coming? Blah blah blah.
Gary wants to know about.
I don't know.
Gary wants to know about the HoloLens project maybe getting canceled. How would that affect Microsoft?
Right, the HoloLens project. The HoloLens project pretty much hinged entirely on this Pentagon contract, where the Pentagon was going to pay billions of dollars to look at getting HoloLens technology integrated into soldiers' helmets, you know, to serve like GPS data and tracking and all kinds of stuff like that, you know. And it was a very ambitious project to sort of add an extra layer of combat effectiveness to the US military, but also very expensive, especially if it didn't work, especially if the soldiers didn't like it, which was the soldiers having to like it was a big, from what I heard, a big part of this actually being a thing. It had to actually be something good and not just a whole gimmick, because the last thing you want is to piss off your soldiers by making them wear some dumb computer on their face. But I think the last thing we heard about that deal was the Pentagon was reevaluating it, whether or not they even wanted to go ahead with it, and whether or not the money could be better spent elsewhere. And I think they're probably right about it probably being able to be better spent elsewhere. And then we got the Alex Kipman thing, where Alex Kipman was, you know, known to be a bit overly sexually familiar with employees. I don't know if he actually broke any laws, but I will say that I have actually verified some of those reports through my own contacts, so I completely 100% believe them. And basically, he was forcibly resigned. He didn't get fired. He was basically asked to resign, you know. So Kitman had a lot of political power at Microsoft, because he's responsible for a lot of their high tech stuff. He's responsible for a lot of their patents, and because he's been described to me as a genius. So, but without Kitman being the driving force behind HoloLens, I don't think there's, because like I say, he was described to me as a genius. So without Kitman being involved, I don't know if there is a HoloLens team left to be a thing. So does it affect Microsoft? Probably not, because pretty much nobody had them anyway. It was just kind of like a pie in the sky kind of thing. And I don't think there's pretty much been barely any development on it anyway, and yeah, it just is what it is. And I think they'll just cut their losses, and then that'll be that. Maybe they'll license the tech to some other company, similarly to what they do with Kinect stuff, so they could make some of their money back on the patents and stuff. Because obviously they're going to have a load of patents for algorithmic stuff for rendering holograms in a virtual 3D space. They've probably got a lot of patents revolving around that. So maybe they can license those patents out to make some of the money back. But it's not going to affect Xbox at all. It's just kind of a shame it didn't pan out, but here's what it is, right?
John says it looks like Katawoka could be open to selling off some of their dormant underutilized IP after selling off Metal Max to Psy Games.
Who's
that? The parent company of From Software. Do you think Microsoft should make an offer for the Otogi IP?
That's interesting. I think the problem with buying IP is you need to have a dev to attach to that IP. It's great having tons of IP, but what if you don't have someone who actually understands the IP to actually make a good game out of it? So I think if you wanted to have the IP, it's all well and good, but sometimes you just can't throw money at a problem and make it happen. For example, the Star Wars movies, 7, 8, and 9, they fluffed them. They had Disney had the biggest IP in the world at the time, or one of the biggest at least, and they threw a ton of money at it, and they were all fail. Practically. I mean, they made money, but they're not going to be remembered as great movies, in my opinion. And you run the risk of doing that with Otogi if you buy it. You can buy the IP, but if you don't have a studio and you don't have a team who can handle it, then it's kind of problematic, right? I think Microsoft's more interested in picking up studios with their IP. So, I'd rather see Microsoft buy From Software than buy an IP. But, will that ever happen? Probably not. That'd be wild, right? Can you imagine? Oh my God.
Yeah, I kind of
Can you imagine the internet meltdown if they bought From Software somehow?
I mean, that would be a big meltdown. Yeah, I kind of agree with you about the Otogi IP. Unless you have a studio who's we want to make a game, kind of like how Coalition was, we want to do Gears or whatever. Microsoft already has a graveyard of unused IP. So
yes, they do.
And I don't know. I personally don't really see Otogi coming back or Microsoft being interested in bringing it back. So that would be my answer. Flash
They
Gordon.
do need Japanese games though.
They do.
I'd rather they did something with Lost Odyssey. I think Lost Odyssey in today's times with the cloud, having turn-based game, especially a time where there are no turn-based games really being made that are actually just feel like the classic Final Fantasy games. And you've got the Shin Megami Tensei games coming to Xbox, which will, bridge the gap a little bit. But if you could get the old team back, all the because a lot of the people who worked on the classic Final Fantasy games worked on Lost Odyssey. If you could do something around getting that team back together and make a Lost Odyssey 2, I think that could be a big deal. And especially now when there's pretty much no real competition at the AAA level. But will it ever happen? Probably not. Probably just a pipe dream.
Probably not. Flash Gordon says, thoughts on Microsoft possibly picking up Ubisoft, Jez?
Ugh, please no.
That's your dream, isn't it?
That's my thoughts on that. Please no. I mean, it's kind of like we talked about Netflix last week, right? If Netflix's share price slid enough, could Microsoft buy Netflix? And I think it's possible. It's a similar situation with Ubisoft. When their share price slid loads before, there was all these rumors about, was it Vivendi, I want to say, trying to do a hostile takeover of Ubisoft,
Yeah, I think.
by buying up all the shares.
Yeah, but
But
the
they
reports were
defended
that
against
like
it, though.
a bunch of private equity firms were looking to like buy Ubisoft or help Yves Guillemot like kind of take it private or something. I don't know.
Mm.
It didn't seem
Oh
like
yeah,
it didn't seem like Xbox or at least Microsoft or PlayStation or were mentioned as possible suitors for Ubisoft.
yeah. I just don't think that Ubisoft's. But the thing is, Ubisoft obviously have a lot of talented programmers, artists, and stuff like that. A lot of my issues with Ubisoft fall on the creative side. It feels like they're just not creative. It feels like they don't know what the hell they're doing. It feels like they're chasing trends. A lot of that could be the executive level. The executive level could be screaming at them, "Make the next Fortnite! Oh my god, please! We need a Fortnite clone!" And that's the reason why all their games suck, is because the devs are forced to make all these terrible games. That being said, I am quite looking forward to Skull and Bones, I have to admit. But I kind of feel like I'm the minority there. But I want it to be good, because at least it's something vaguely different from Ubisoft, man. At least it's something potentially interesting. But maybe I'm just being a little bit overly optimistic here again. But I don't want to see Microsoft buy that studio. I really, really don't. But Ashes to Ashes in chat says Ubisoft and EA both seem very lost right now. And I think that's true. I think they are lost. I think they don't know how to grow in a world that's sort of revenues dominated by mobile. Console sales are flat, sort of. And they're increasingly, even on console, EA and Ubisoft are competing with massive free-to-play games, which just soak up everyone's time, lock people in with battle passes that sort of make people feel like they have to complete the battle pass. Like, I've been grinding Multiverse's battle pass all night because I really want the skin you get for Jake at the end of the battle pass. So I'm just like, I put RimWorld on hold to complete this bloody
And
battle pass.
how
and
much
then
was
once
this
I've done
battle
that,
pass? How much? How much was it? $10?
it's free.
Oh, it's free. Okay.
It's free. Oh no, the premium track. The premium track. Okay, so there's a free track with a skin for Finn from Adventure Time. Do you like Adventure Time, Rand?
What's Adventure Time?
Oh, God, you're so old. How can you not know what Adventure Time is, man? What the hell is?
What's Adventure Time?
Never mind. It's a cartoon. It's a kids TV show.
Okay, it's kids TV show. How am I supposed to know a kids TV
good.
show?
Because it's one of them good ones that you can enjoy as an adult.
Oh, okay.
At least I can. And Jake the dog is voiced by Marcus Phoenix, man.
Okay. Go ahead. Keep on talking,
No?
Jez. I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, never mind. Never mind.
Okay.
I'm just stunned you don't know what Adventure Time is. It's like the greatest cartoon of the last million years.
Cartoon.
Cartoon. Christ.
I'm sorry. I don't know what Adventure Time is. I guess I'm just too old. I've just never heard it. I don't know. Never heard of it.
Blakey in chat says, remember who called it Pepper the Pig? That's you, true, Rand.
Is Peppa the Pig?
You started, yeah, touch, man. You need to get on TikTok more.
I guess so. I will never download the TikTok app. Sorry, not happening.
Why not? Don't you want to be
Bro,
cool?
I don't want all my data going to China, bro. Get out of here.
Oh man.
Yeah, I doubt Xbox or PlayStation go after Ubisoft. Zeong wants to know
I want Rare to make an Adventure Time game. That'd be sick. What? Is there an Adventure Time game? There must be.
I think there is, and I think I probably played it and got 1,000 in it, but whatever.
And you don't even remember what it is?
I have no idea what it is.
It's about Jake the dog and Finn going on adventures. Literally called Adventure Time. It's the clues in the name, really. Never mind.
He wants to know what's better, Office US or Office UK.
Oh god, is that even a question? It's obviously the UK version.
Okay.
The US version just doesn't understand what The Office is meant to be about. And it's got like 15,000 seasons. That show only needed 2 seasons at most. Okay, thanks, bye.
Sebastian wants to know, hey Rand, do you feel like you're playing less games lately? I mean, I haven't played as much this year as I have in years past. That's 100% true. Mainly because there hasn't been anything that has, interested me most of this year. But I think that's about to change. Like this year, the end of this year is really packed with a lot of stuff I'm really looking forward to.
Like what?
Well, let's see. Solar Ash, Modern Warfare 2.
I don't even know what that is.
The Annapurna
Solar
game.
Ash?
Solar Ash is a game that came out on PlayStation, made from the guy who made Hyperlight Drifter. Was announced at the Annapurna Showcase finally coming to Xbox. So that game, Modern Warfare 2, Callisto Protocol, God of War Ragnarok, Plague Tale Requiem, High on Life, Saints Row. I'm trying to think. There's more, but I'd have to look at the game releases. But those are the ones off the top of my head. New Need for Speed if that comes out.
What about Xenoblade 3 on Nintendo Switch?
Nah. No Xenoblade. No Xenoblade. I'm sure there'll be. I probably replayed Deathloop if it comes to Xbox in September. I would have played Warhammer.
I never finished that. So
Warhammer Dark Tide. I'll probably play Scorn, although I don't think that game's going to be any good.
Looks alright.
Gotham Knights. I mean, I love Batman, so I'll be playing Gotham Knights as well. Problem is, Gotham Knight comes out a couple days before Modern Warfare 2, so it's there's a whole bunch of games. Yeah, mainly because the beginning of this year, just there wasn't really a lot of things I was interested in. So, GKN says, which of these teams are possible pickups for Xbox? Stoic, IOI, Rocksteady, Mercury Steam, Avalanche from Nordics, Koei Tecmo, including Team Ninja, NetherRealms, Pearl Abyss. What do you think, Jez? Stoic, maybe. IOI Interactive, possibly. Rocksteady, probably not. Avalanche, probably not. Team Ninja, don't think so. NetherRealms, probably not. Mercury Steam, maybe?
I don't think Warner Brothers is gonna. I think Warner Brothers is gonna stick with gaming now because of multiverses. I think I think multiverses could become their Fortnite. I really, really believe that. I'm really loving this game. I'm really loving it. So I think they'll probably see how this will drive a halo effect over their brands and be like, oh, actually, maybe we do keep games. Because honestly, since playing Multiverses Round, I went on a mission to find a streaming service where I could watch Adventure Time, because it used to be on Netflix in Europe and now it isn't. And I don't know what streaming service in Germany I can use to watch Adventure Time. I can buy it on Amazon Web Services, Amazon Prime, if I had a German bank account, which I don't currently have. So I am bereft of Adventure Time unless I want to go pirating stuff right now. But I'm seriously, playing Multiverses made me want to watch some bloody Warner Brothers things, and I can't because HBO Max is not available in this bloody continent. So maybe they'll look at Multiverse and be like, oh crap, maybe maybe there is something to this game thing. So maybe they do hang on to their studios, because there was a time when it seemed like they were trying to offload them, but maybe they'll just hang on to them now. But I do think there's a chance if about some of those studios, like for example, if Contraband hits and it's a really good game, then I do think they could end up with Avalanche at some point, because Avalanche is a cool studio that can make good games. I really like the Mad Max game. I thought it was underrated.
But they're owned by Norsk, and Norsk just literally bought Supermassive. So I don't get any indication that there looks like they're getting deeper into games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe at one point, but maybe the ship sailed and they're just let's try and get deeper into it. So I guess maybe not Avalanche either, but I think IO Interactive is pretty high. I think maybe like after the Activision Blizzard deal stuff closes, maybe they go straight after IO right after.
Here's an interesting thing.
They could get IO and the Hitman IP. I think that'd be big.
Because our buddy Kimona Tong in one of the Discords we're in, he said basically, what do you think happens to the Hitman IP if if Square Enix gets acquired by Sony first, presuming Xbox gets IO eventually, of course. What do you think about that?
That's scary. I want to believe that they would sell the IP to Microsoft, because I think there's some sort of weird thing going on, because I think IO Interactive have exclusive rights to make games for the Hitman IP, but I think Square Enix still owns some aspects of the rights, distribution rights or something like that. Because all my Hitman correspondence, all of that comes from Square Enix PR, which suggests to me they still bloody own it all. You know, even though like there was some indication that a lot of people think IO fully own Hitman. I don't think they do. It's hard to fully tell what the hell's going on there, but it seems to be more complicated than that. But I think even if they lost the Hitman IP, I think they could just basically make a new one that was basically the same, but just call it something else. Assassin or something. Oh, I suppose you piss off Ubisoft then. Right, what's another word for a Hitman? Come on, chat. What's another word for Hitman? You think I'm a professional writer or something? Come on, Rand. You read books. I don't even read books. You should know this. What's another word for Hitman?
That's a good question. What is another word for Hitman?
I don't know. The Mafia calls them capos, right?
Capo?
Am I getting my cartels mixed up?
That wouldn't be a good name for a game, I don't think. Right?
Why not? It could be like it could be mafia themed. No. Point is,
what about
they could make a new Hitman game without the IP.
I went to synonyms and I typed in Hitman, and one of the synonyms is gunman.
I don't think that's a very good name for a game.
Synonyms for Hitman: assassin, gunman, hitwoman, murderer, and sniper.
Oh yeah, that could do hitwoman.
Hitwoman.
That'll piss people off. That one. Oh no!
Executioner.
Oh god! Hitman's gone woke. Oh no!
Butcher. Triggerman. There you go. Triggerman.
Oh man, there's a
Hired
lot of
gun.
Triggermans on Twitter today.
That's
funny.
Yeah, Alvin says, Jez, you say that you need a dev that understands the IP, but Bethesda makes Fallout, and they don't get Fallout, even try to make a real Fallout. Oh, he's got you there. Got you there, Jez.
I disagree, man. I think Bethesda did a great job with the Fallout 76 notwithstanding. I think Bethesda did a great job adapting the Fallout IP for a modern audience, and that was before the CRPG renaissance, you know. And this is funny, you know, because I was actually, when we were talking about Hitman and that like IO could just make another Hitman game, that's basically why Fallout even exists. Is because in Exile, or you know, not in Exile, but was it Interplay? Back in the day when Brian Fargo made Fallout, no, Wasteland. He made Wasteland, and then he lost the IP to Wasteland, so he basically just made a new Wasteland and called it Fallout, and that's why we have Fallout and Wasteland now. And even though they're both basically the same game. The same premise, essentially. Like Fallout's just like frozen in time 1950s, and Wasteland's frozen in time 1980s. You know, it's it's the same premise, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think they do get and they do care about the Fallout universe. But at the time, CRPGs just weren't going to fly. I mean, arguably, like they're not even super popular even now, to be fair. I do wonder, like, how many... Do we know sales figures for Wasteland 3?
No, I don't think
Probably
so.
wasn't amazing. Even though I love Wasteland 3 so much, such a great game. I get that, you know, there are a lot of people who don't appreciate art, like Rand, who won't play a game if it's turn-based. So, you hate turn-based, right, Rand?
I do not hate
Yeah, I can
turn-based.
see. You literally hate turn-based. You hate Sony and you hate turn-based. Do we need another therapy session, Rand?
No. What we need is probably to just end the show because it's 3.5 hours long. And
I'm gonna have to compress it again because last time we did a show this long, Spotify was like, your podcast is too long, sorry. So I had to compress it.
yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for being here so much. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back next week, of course, with lots more to talk about, hopefully. And
Hell yeah.
we'll get Jez on the couch talking about his fears about something.
I have no fears.
I
I'm
don't know.
fearless.
You have tons of fears. But until
No
then,
more.
have a great weekend, guys, and keep it gaming.
Take
Later.
care, everybody.